before you start, I need to just,
we're
the
already,
majority are blonde.
we're live now.
I'm officially gray now, Amit.
Okay, we're live. Let's.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment. This is our regularly scheduled meeting for March 25th, 2021. So I think that we've been meeting remotely for a year now. It's a little
Happy
after
anniversary.
8 p.m. And instead of coming to you, we're coming to you virtually instead of coming to you live in the City Hall or City Hall Annex rooms. We are coming to you virtually in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, which allows us to have meetings in this format. With that, let's get started with the call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty, and justice
for all.
Great. So thank you very much, everyone. Any sunshine announcements?
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this hearing was given to the Jersey Journal, Jersey City Reporter, and posted with the clerk Friday, March 19th, 2021. And we have the notice to be marked.
Thank you.
And this will be B1 for tonight.
Thank you. Staff, can you take roll call whenever you're ready, please?
Okay, Commissioner Rougeau,
Here.
Commissioner Netchert,
Here.
Commissioner Green,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick,
Here.
Commissioner Shadid,
Here,
Vice Chair Donnelly,
Here.
and Chairman Jacobs.
Here.
All right, we have 7 present.
Thank you. Okay. Can we swear in staff, please?
Okay, we have 4. Do you swear or affirm the testimony or comments you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And that's Ms. Marione, Ms. Sigmund, Ms. Black, and Mr. Black and Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Okay. Any correspondence?
Yes, so I'm going to share my screen and I'll just go through the agenda. That's not it. There we go. Okay. So we're going to start with new business review and discussion of the 2020 Zoning Board of Adjustment Annual Report for 2020. And then we have case Z2071, case Z2072, both going forward. Anyone on staff, feel free to correct me if anything has changed as of earlier today in terms of what's going forward and what's not. Case Z2063, 90 Webster Avenue, and Z2069, 130 Summit Avenue are both going forward. Same with Z1984, 10 Brinkerhoff Street. Z2090, address 3294 JFK, that's an administrative amendment that is being carried to the April 8th regular meeting with preservation of notice. KZ2052, 130 West Side, that is still going forward if time permits. Z2080, address 241 Clinton Avenue, it's also going forward. And lastly, item 18, case Z2072, address is 4 East Bidwell Ave. That is not going forward tonight. It's carried to a date uncertain, so they will be renoticing for a future meeting date. So we're going forward with everything except for 3294 JFK and 4 East Bidwell. So if you're here for those applications, the JFK amendment will be on April 8th, our next regular meeting, and for East Bidwell, we are not sure exactly when that would be heard, but they will be renoticing, and you can circle back with our office if you want updates for that application. And the city planning email is on every agenda, cityplanning@jcnj.org.
And Lindsay, which ones are those listed on the agenda? The
The,
numbers?
the item numbers?
Yeah.
Yes, so those are item numbers 15 and 18.
Can we
Okay.
post in the chat the apps that are being
Yeah, I
used
was
tonight?
just about to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, I mean, I would just say to anyone, I don't know for sure that we will get to cases, what's listed as item number 16 or 17. Maybe we will. Let's see how things go. Those are 130 West Side Avenue and 241 Clinton Avenue. You know, last meeting we were here till midnight. I'd really like us not to start an application, you know, after 9:45, just to avoid that. All right. Well, then with that, let's get started. I think we're first going to review and discuss the 2020 Zoning Board of Adjustment Annual Report, unless we would prefer as a board to do that after we go through the agenda.
I think that we should do it after the agenda so we could get started with these cases real quick.
Okay.
We also might not want to deal with it at that point either, but
I'm
Those
sure.
come-
I'm sure we won't want to deal with it. We won't want to deal with anyone, anything at a late time. So it's really up to you as in terms of what you think is what you want to be focused on.
I mean, I can go through it fast, and
Right.
it's really on trend with the past 2 years, which is quite remarkable considering last year was a total and complete and utter anomaly. So the fact that we stayed right on trend is actually pretty miraculous.
All right, so let me do the motion. We just go ahead and say, let's hear the, let's go for it.
I
So we
don't.
could get started.
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion. It's just, you know, kind of generally, you know, Rich said, let's move it. If other people agree with Rich, maybe we'll move it to the end. If more people will say, let's just run through it as quickly as we can and get it done with, I'll just stop talking and we'll
No,
keep going.
Josh, let Cameron do it. Let's get it over with. Let's go.
Okay, so the 2020 Annual Zoning Board Report. First page, we have some quotes from Commissioner Rothman to pay some homage to an incredible commissioner. And then we go straight into the findings, which are shockingly mirror image of the past 2 years, really. You know, we heard 73 applications, 69 were approved, 1 denied, 2 withdrawn, 1 appeal was denied. That gives us a 94% approval rating. First page, you see a chart which shows how over the years, we've slowly been hearing more cases. The past 3 years, though, have been quite similar in every regard. So we heard 157 variances in 2020. Of those, 27 or 42% included a site plan. 2 cases include subdivisions. The vast majority of the D variances, which comes as no surprise, were in the R1 zone. And now we had actually a total of 44 D variances in the R1 zone and 77 C variances in the R1 zone. So the majority of the D variances were use variances. 28 of them were in the R1 zone. 1 was in the RH, which is historic. 1 was in the R3. Next to use variances, rear yard setbacks seem to be the second contender for most sought after variance. So then at the bottom of page 4, you see a comparison of the variances from 2019 to 2020. Nothing statistically significant in the percentage changes here. All of it very much on trend with what we see in the R1 zone. There were, however, in 2020, a slightly larger number of C variances, an 8% increase. Whether that's statistically significant or not, that's another question. Making our way down. Geographically on page 6, you can see comparing 2020 to 2019, where most of these use variances are occurring. Likewise, on trend, we're seeing the distribution in the Heights, McGinley Square. I think one thing to note is that there were, compared to 2019, there were about 6 more use variances in the Marion neighborhood, west of Journal Square and south of Little India. So making our way down. Standard recommendations from the board for ameliorating some of the issues, all of which are going to be addressed in the master plan, which has been undergoing for a year now. So that's going to be very interesting to see. We did have some chapter 345 zone changes. We had the flood overlay zone that was added this year. We had the green area ratio that was added this year. We had some, we had Mallory Ave, which got the restaurant overlay zone to permit all of those existing non-conforming restaurants along Mallory and commercial uses such as thrift stores, clothing shops, etc. Building permits so far in the year of 2020, we were actually pretty much standard, right on trend with 2018, and not as many as 2019, but I mean, that has to be expected considering we had months and months and months where, you know, all construction was halted due to the pandemic. And then the recommendations are accordingly a rewrite of the Jersey City Master Plan, analyzing parking standards in the R1 for 1 and 2 family homes, analyze the Marion Heights, McGinley Square, Greenville section to determine whether R1 is the most appropriate zone, rezoning of the northern part of JFK from R1 to R3 or NC, or whichever is the most appropriate. And that concludes the annual zoning board adjustments report.
Thank you, Cameron. I had a couple comments, questions, and I don't know if anyone else from the board does. One, I always am not sure how to feel about the approval rate percentage. I think when I was a more junior commissioner, my feeling was we want to have a lower number. I'm not sure that I feel that way, and that doesn't mean that I feel we should be approving all of our applications, but more I think that we've done a good job of you know, telling applicants where we don't think that it's necessarily going to work, to kind of go back to the drawing board. And I don't know if that's the best approach, or if we should be thinking more, we should just deny it and have them deal with it. You know, but we have been trying to take approach of, you know, we want everybody to work together and everybody to agree. So I don't know if that's a point, you know, anyone wants to talk about. I do think that it's amazing that we've been plateauing at a pretty high level of development. So Cameron, one question I had is when you have the data for the county and the state, I think that would be really interesting to look at. I would imagine, but I don't know for sure, that our percentage of building permits for the county would be higher than it was in 2019. But I would think there might be more building permits in other parts of the state. But again, I'm not sure. And I also love looking at that map on page 6. And I think it would be really interesting if you did like something going back maybe 10 years, looking, which really shows, you know, the change over time. You know, I think if you were to look at something 5 years ago, you'd be seeing a ton of variances in downtown. And it looks like in 2020, there were none in downtown. So to me, that seems pretty amazing. Anyone else have any thoughts? And I guess my final thought is, this is great. I'm glad you guys spend time on this, but I probably said this last year too. What happens to this document? Does this go before anyone else?
Last year we actually, Lindy actually brought it to the planning board and presented it to them. For the most part, we actually take a lot of the recommendations, and in the next year and a half, 2 years, we change the regulations. So we do use this as a jumping point, and we wind up changing zones and things like that.
Great. And then what can we do, and what can people listening on the call do to make sure that there is a very soon complete rewrite of the Jersey City Master Plan?
I missed it. I apologize.
Sorry.
I just didn't hear what you said.
For people listening in, and for the commissioners, what can we do? Because I think we've been saying for 5 years, we're going to have a rewrite of the Jersey City Master Plan, which I think was last done in, I don't know, a really long time ago. I don't remember exact. How does this happen? What can each person do to make sure this happens? Write to their city council person, text the mayor every 5 minutes. What would be the most effective way of making sure that we have a rewrite of the Jersey City Master Plan?
So I'm going to let Mallory answer all those good questions.
Sure. So the best and most efficient way for everyone to get involved in the process is to join in on the public meetings. So we had our first round of public engagement for the master plan, which is a lot of kind of introductory information and data analysis in the fall, and we're ramping up to have our second round of engagement in May. So we haven't finalized the dates yet, but probably in the next 2 weeks you'll start seeing those advertised. And what we're really going to be doing with that is presenting draft recommendations. So, you know, after all this work in the past year that our consultants have been doing, they've formulated and worked with us to formulate recommendations for zoning changes, for land use changes, for open space growth and investment, and they're going to be presenting those. So that's going to be a great way for people to get involved and give feedback to like very direct recommendations. The easiest way you can keep up to date on the meeting dates and how to register, because these will still be virtual, is to follow our social media accounts. So we are at JC Master Plan. Again, that's at JC Master Plan. That's for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So we'll be advertising about the upcoming engagement. And then there's also going to be several additional points of engagement in the next few months for some smaller area vision plans, which actually focus on very specific geographies throughout the city to create a vision moving forward. And from these things, we will likely be bringing actual zoning recommendations. So these documents aren't meant to be zoning recommendations in their truest form. They're kind of the most basic blueprint from which we bring zoning changes to the boards and to city council. So again, follow the social media. We'll be plugging soon. We're going to be starting up in May. In May and June, there will be several opportunities for the community to get involved. And as always, you can just email us at City Planning. We're happy to set up a call with anybody if you have recommendations you'd like us to consider, or if you just have a lot of opinions on things you've seen over the years and how they've kind of impacted your neighborhood or how your neighborhood has grown in ways you like or don't like. You can always set up a call with us, and we're happy to touch base with you. And then lastly, the most efficient way would be to kind of funnel through your neighborhood association. So we also—
Hillary, please slow down.
Sure. So we also engage with all of the neighborhood associations that are established throughout the city. So if you know the person in your area That's kind of the gatekeeper to a lot of things related to city planning. A great way is to get involved with that association, and you can funnel any feedback through them as well.
Great, thanks, Mallory. Anyone else have comments, questions, thoughts?
I'm okay.
Let's move forward.
Josh, I tend to agree with you that, you know, we have a very high level of approval, but I also, we do send a lot of cases back to the drawing board once we start getting community feedback. And I do actually think that that's a better and more effective approach. And a lot of these street approval statistics don't also reflect how, you know, we'll also demand additional conditions in the approval. You know, so I mean, these are just straightforward statistics. I think they're a helpful tool. I think the map, as you pointed out, is a helpful tool, but it doesn't drop all the footnotes, but that's okay. You know, I think it's a good tool for, you know, the purposes that were explained. So.
Okay, thanks, Kate. If no one else has any other comments, well, then we will move on. So we'll move to the first case, case Z20-071. The address is 851-859 Communipaw Avenue. And are we doing this? I can't recall. This is together with the next one, right? 869.
They're going to actually do them separately. They want to have a
okay.
clean record
Okay.
for both. Yeah.
I just ask a question before we get started on it. Cameron, on the second one, the 869 Communipaw, does that include the affordable housing? Because on the agenda, it doesn't say anything about the affordable housing before we get into it too much on the during the meeting.
It does. Both have 10% affordable.
I see. So we'll just make the record known when it comes up that there is the 10% in there. All right. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay.
So are you ready for me?
I'm ready for you, Chuck, unless you're going to tell me that this is a trick and we're just going to talk about Jersey City history for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
No, I think we're over that. Josh, did you call the case?
Yes, I called the case where is this case Z20-071.
So, Mr. Harrington, we have your notices, your affidavit, your proof of publication, and we're going to mark that, Bridget, A1 for this application.
Okay, that will be A1 for this application.
And as always, Mr. Harrington, since we're doing this virtually, you agree to have your witnesses sworn in remotely, correct?
That's correct.
Great.
Okay, for the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. As just discussed, the next one on the agenda, 869 Communipaw Avenue, is very similar to this project. They're actually next to each other. So that, you know, both presentations will be similar, but we did want to separate them for separate records. But I would imagine, you know, the second one will be pretty streamlined. And just note that this, you know, the board is, you're familiar with this area because about a month ago, a project right next door to this project at 847, 849 Communipaw was approved at a similar height of 6 stories that had 35 units, 12 parking spaces, and that had I believe three workforce units, so a little less than 10%. I just note that because this project and the next project are proposing 10% affordable units, but there will be moderate income units. as part of the overall project. We're also proposing to have some solar panels on the roof. And you'll see during this presentation, each project will have 6 shared shared car services to assist the residents and provide for additional vehicles and access on the site. So what you're seeing tonight is a result of 3 meetings with the public. We had some comments, and I believe there's still you'll have some public comment on this tonight. But just so you know, we've in response to some of those comments, we eliminated the roof deck because there were concerns about some noise on the Roosevelt Avenue side. We eliminated the terraces in the back on the ground, not the ground floor, but the floor directly above the garage. We are providing for a drop-off in front of the 2 phases that is to assist or to mitigate any effect on any traffic issues along Communipaw Avenue. So with that said, this portion there would be built like in phases. This would be a 6-story building. We're proposing 90 units, of which 10%, so 9 units will be moderate income units. And it is a total of 39 parking spaces, 6 of which will be the shared cars within the garage, 2 of which will be electric cars. And then there's ground floor commercial space. We are asking for a D variance to permit the mixed use at this location because it is in the commercial automotive zone. We are also asking for a height variance with regard to this building. It is also similar in height to the project that was approved at 847 Communipaw. So with that said, I have 2 witnesses. I have Jeff Lewis as my architect, and Carolyn Worstel will be our planner. I also know for the record that I have Lee Klein as our traffic engineer. So in the event the board has, we did submit a traffic report, but in the event the board or the public have any questions with regard to traffic, he is here to answer those. Okay, so I see Jeff Lewis here.
Hi,
so
I'm here.
move it over to Mr. Lewis.
Okay.
And would you raised your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And if you could state and spell your full name for the record?
Jeffrey Lewis, JEFFREYLEWIS.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. And for the record, my license in the state of New Jersey is active and it's in good standing still.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And Chuck, we can accept the qualifications for all 3 of your experts. I don't know if we can do that in advance, but happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. I think it's noted on the record. We're good.
Okay, so I'm going to start my screen sharing here. So as Chuck mentioned, we are proposing a 6-story building, excuse me, with 2 ground floor retail spaces, 39 parking spaces on the ground floor, 90 residential units above. And I just wanted to give you a quick summary of the units. We have 10 2-bedroom units that average about 950 square feet, 75 larger 1-bedroom units that are 1 bedroom plus an extra den space that average about 912 square feet, and then 5 just regular 1-bedrooms that average 828 square feet. And then, so going to what I'm showing here, this is sheet C120 showing our proposed site plan. And, the building is in brown, but starting at the top, Communipaw Avenue is on top here. We are proposing 6 new street trees on this property. We are also proposing to remove and replace the existing curb with a new curb. We're obviously proposing all new sidewalks. When we replace that curb, we are removing 2 existing curb cuts that we have on this property and adding just 1 10-foot curb cut over on the right of the property. And then lastly, as was mentioned, there's no parking here on Communipaw Avenue. So we did set back our building to allow for enough space on the left side here where we can have room for the 12.5-foot sidewalk and then a 10-foot deep drop-off area as well. And this drop-off area is 10 feet deep and it's 104.5 feet long. It extends in front of both this property as well as 869 Communipaw next door. And also you can see it's fairly conveniently located to both of the commercial entrances to the building and then also the main residential entrance to the building. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. This is our lighting plan, just to show you that we are providing lighting mounted on the building to illuminate the sidewalks. This is the grading drainage utility plan, just showing you that we are providing for a stormwater detention system, which is located beneath our parking area. And now we're getting right into the floor plan. So this is sheet A100. And I'm going to start on the left here. We do have two commercial spaces. The first is 1,829 square feet. The second is 1,965 square feet. After that, in the center of the building, we have a large main lobby with two elevators. And then this lobby has access to an 826 square feet amenity space, and then a fitness room that is 1,220 square feet. There's also in the back a small package room and then access to the garage. And then the garage, of course, is also accessed from the street through the garage door and this 18-foot wide drive aisle. On one side of the drive aisle is located our meters and our sprinkler room. This is a fully sprinkled building, of course. And then on the right, we have a pretty large trash and recycling room with the trash compactor and a staircase with a walkway directly to the street. The garage itself has 39 parking spaces, 2 of which are handicapped, and then 48 bicycle storage spaces. Moving on to sheet A110, this is our second floor, but the layout for all of these floors is the same. We have a center corridor with a stair at each end. Elevators are in the center. And at the right side of the building, we do have a trash chute, which goes directly to the compactor downstairs. There are two bedroom units per floor. They're on the right and they access this window well to create that second bedroom. The regular one bedroom unit is located behind the garages, is one of these per floor. And then the rest of the units are those one bedroom, and you see you have the extra den space in the center of the room. You can see it here too. So all of those have that extra den space on the inside of them. And then all of these units are, of course, ADA adaptable. They all have a washer dryer in the unit, and we have ducted heat and air conditioning in the unit. And just to summarize a couple of the changes that we made based on our meetings with the community, we originally had PTACs on this building, and we removed all the PTACs, so we won't have any PTACs or PTAC grills on the exterior of the building.
Excuse me, you're going to have to slow down, please. You're talking really fast.
I'm very sorry.
Back to
so
that PTACs on this building.
we removed the PTACs from this building. We increased the rear yard setback of the building, not on the first floor. The first floor we're on the property line, but the floors above, we was originally 15 feet. We increased that to 23 feet, so an additional 8 feet, which also made some of the units smaller as well. And also, as Chuck mentioned, on this floor, we had terraces on the top of the garage roof, and we removed them. And then looking at the actual roof plan itself, we originally had a large roof deck on this roof, and the tenants were concerned about the noise from the roof decks. So we removed them, and we were proposing solar panels on this roof and air conditioning condensers. Looking at the building elevation, I'm going to give me a second to zoom in here a little bit. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is the front elevation of the building, and I want to go through some of the materials. Starting at the first floor, what we're using is a Reading Rock cast stone with a 24-inch cast stone cornice. And you could see we're alternating colors each bay. We have a light gray and then light beige, and then a darker beige, light beige, darker beige. So we're alternating between a light beige and a dark beige. All of the storefronts, all the entry doors on this floor have black aluminum frames. The garage door is a grooved metal door, and that's also going to be black. We also have an awning that's above the main entry to the building, and this is an 8-foot deep awning. And that's wrapped in dark gray metal panels. And then looking at the finishes above, we're proposing a hard coat stucco finish that's designed to match the stone finish below, both in finish as well as in color. So we're continuing the light beige in some bays and then the dark beige in others. However, the dark beige bays, excuse me, are also complemented with this red brick sections. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those on this building. Again, the windows above here and the floors above are all also black aluminum frame windows. And then lastly, step back on the roof, you can see the elevator penthouse and the stair penthouse, both of which are finished with medium gray fiber cement siding, and the stair penthouse just has a little bit of black stucco trim around it on each side. Okay, and so then I'm going to slide down to the rear elevation. And so again, this is, I mentioned the first floor is on the property line. And so that floor is going to have a smooth gray stucco finish. And then looking above, we've taken the building and divided it up into bays. And what we're using to divide this up into bays are 24-inch vertical elements that are finished in this dark gray stucco finish. And then above, there's a 36-inch stucco cornice, which is also dark gray. So that's what's framing these bays. And then the main finish for them, we have a horizontal siding in most of them, which is a gray fiber cement siding. However, and then there's the one central bay that actually has the vertical siding, and it's also fiber cement siding. And the color of this is bark, so obviously a brown color. Then moving to the side elevations, this is what would be the left side of the building. So we can see on the first floor, we're wrapping around that same smooth stucco finish that we had on the back of the building. And then above, we have a patterned smooth stucco finish. There are two different colors. This section, the main two sections are on the property line, and they're finished with a dark gray color. And then this central area is the window well. The windows are actually on the inside, so you can't see them. But that area will be painted black. And then lastly, this is the right elevation, which would be, it's shown as stucco right now. However, ideally 869 Communipol will be right up adjacent to this building. Okay, so that's my presentation of the architectural drawings. I think I'll hand everything off to Carolyn, and then we'll do questions at the end. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that works. Is it right, Chairman? I don't want to usurp that. So yeah, we'll move right into Ms. Worstel.
And if you would raise your right hand and unmute yourself, Carolyn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you would state and spell your full name for the record.
Right, it's Carolyn, Carolyn, Worstel, Worstell.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Worstel, if you could please walk us through the requested variances and the reasoning.
Sure, of course. So we need a use variance for this site, as well as a D6 height variance, and there are a couple of bulk variances which are wrapped up within that overarching use variance. So we'll go through the positive criteria for those. So obviously under relevant case law, we are requesting a use variance, which can be granted in particular cases and for special reasons, where the proposed use will promote the general welfare and the property is particularly well suited to accommodate the use. This property is particularly well suited to accommodate this use here. The site itself is in a gateway location along Communipol Avenue corridor. It serves as a gateway into the city and is near a variety of services which would support the residents, including the NC District, which runs along West Side Avenue and Lincoln Park, and is easily accessed. Or Lincoln Park, which can be accessed just north of this site at the intersection of Communipol and Mallory Avenues. The proposed ground floor commercial spaces proposed here would reinforce Communipol Avenue as a commercial corridor, while the added residential density supports the commercial uses. The site itself consists of 3 tax lots, which combined have approximately 200 feet of frontage along Communipol Avenue and a lot depth of approximately 125 feet for a total lot area of 24,737 square feet, or about 0.5 acres, a little over half an acre. The project site currently has a vacant 1-story building, which has been most recently used as a gym with surface parking. And as we've previously stated, the site is in that commercial automotive district. The size of the lot, it makes it very appropriate for this mixed use with the residential, because it allows for a larger building's footprint, can provide over 3,700 square feet of commercial space and 39 off-street parking spaces, as well as that residential lobby. The building footprint can allow for sufficiently sized units, including the 1 bedrooms averaging 828 square feet, 1 bedroom plus den units averaging 912 square feet, and the 2 bedroom units averaging 950 square feet. Of those 90 units, 75 units are that sort of 1 bedroom plus den configurations, which would allow for better work from home configurations for residents, as people may continue to be working partly from home and before going back into offices. The proposed density here is 158 dwelling units per acre, and it's consistent with for a mid-rise building, sort of a 6-story building, 5 units over parking. There are multifamily buildings in the surrounding area with densities that are of similar range, including the density of the project that was recently approved at 847, 849 Communipaw Avenue, just adjacent to the site to the east, which had 35 units. The property has excellent access to public transportation, including the New Jersey Transit bus routes that run along Communipaw Avenue, West Side Avenue, and JFK Boulevard. And the West Side Avenue Light Rail Station, and there's a city bike location at the corner of West Side Avenue and Union Street. Access to the public transportation, commercial goods and services, and recreation facilities support the particular suitability of this property for the proposed multifamily use. And the addition of a residential use into this neighborhood is really consistent with the residential neighborhoods that are to the north and south of Communipaw Avenue, and overall surround this corridor. Moving on to that D6 height variance, the subject property can accommodate the problems associated with the increased in building height. As I mentioned before, this property is a gateway location and is appropriate for some increased height. Communipaw Avenue itself is a major east-west thoroughfare in Jersey City and has a right-of-way width of 70 feet. And then due to the orientation of the property, the majority of the shadows are going to fall into that right-of-way. So there's going to be lessening of impacts on the residential uses to the south of the site. And we did provide shadow studies, and I can go through that further. In addition, the proposed height is consistent with other multifamily buildings along this corridor, including the one that was just recently approved. Regarding those C-bulk variances, which are subsumed in that use variance, we're looking at a minimum rear yard setback variance. The project's providing a 0-foot rear yard setback at the ground floor and a 23-foot step back above the ground floor for those residential floors. That 0-foot rear yard setback will allow for the additional parking spaces to be completely enclosed in the ground floor parking garage. And additionally, the CA, the Commercial Automotive District itself, requires that there be a 6-foot brick wall along the rear property line. So the proposed enclosed parking level at first level would serve sort of a similar purpose to provide separation between the residential neighborhoods to the south of us and Communipaw Avenue, and would have somewhat similar impacts on light and air. The ground floor of the building will rise approximately 12 feet at the rear lot line and won't have really substantial detriment to those residential properties to the south. And above the ground floor, that proposed 23-foot setback would provide greater separation than the commercial automotive district would require, because the commercial automotive district requires or permits a 5-foot setback up to a height of 30 feet. So you could potentially get, another 2 stories maybe with a 5-foot setback, and here we're going to be providing 23 feet. So it would definitely provide a benefit for those residential units or residential properties to the south. Looking at maximum building and lot coverage, the proposed project would have 96.5% building coverage and 100% lot coverage on the ground floor. And this is sort of tied to that rear yard setback variance in order to provide the full enclosed parking garage area. The project recognizes the impact of the lot coverage as it relates to stormwater impacts and will be providing stormwater detention system to mitigate any of the detrimental impacts. And furthermore, these stormwater management systems would be an improvement over the existing conditions. The site currently has 92% impervious lot coverage and no on-site stormwater management. So this would definitely be an improvement over existing conditions. The project advances the purposes of the municipal land use law. Granting the requested variances will guide the appropriate use and development of the property in a manner that would promote the general welfare consistent with Purpose A through the provision of an appropriate mixed-use building with ground floor commercial uses along Communipaw Avenue. The project will advance Purpose E. Approval of this project will promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations. Although it's not a permitted use within the zone, the proximity to the public transportation, convenient goods and services, and public open space makes this property a suitable location for a residential use or a residential component of this project. The subject property provides sufficient space and appropriate locations for the type of residential use with proximity to public transportation, advancing Purpose G. And then the project will promote a more desirable visual environment consistent with Purpose I with the development, with placement of those, basically parking lots with a new and attractive structure. And the proposed development will also promote the utilization of renewable energy resources through the provision of solar panels on the roof consistent with Purpose N. Looking at the negative criteria, this project does not have a substantial detriment to the general welfare. The project will have a positive impact on the area and will replace a one-story structure with parking, with a modern amenity building, with elevator ADA accessible units. The project will diversify the Jersey City housing stock by providing a mix of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom plus den and 2-bedroom units. And the proposed affordable component of the project will also be a benefit to the community. Shadows cast by the proposed structure will mainly fall on Communipaw Avenue right of way. And I can actually share my screen and show that and go through that with you quickly. Let me just make sure I've got the right one open. Yes, let me share that screen with you very quickly and we will go through that. Share. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this was submitted with as part of the application project or packet. So as you can see, there will be some shadow impacts on the residential uses to the south of us, but they're mainly in the morning. In March, the sunlight will be completely off those parcels by 10 a.m. And by 9 a.m. will be mostly off these parcels here. Again, June, by 10 a.m. in June, there will be no shadow impacts on the residential parcels to the south of us. Again, September, 9, 10 a.m., you're going to have, basically no impact. And then in December, the shadows will never, there'll never be shadow impacts on these properties to the south of us. They'll always be to the north. And as you can see, shadow impacts really are going to be falling mainly within the public right of way. When you and then on the commercial properties on the other side of the street. And then when you go into late December, shadows end up getting very long and you start to have them really sort of stretch. But there really are already existing shadow impacts on some of these residential neighborhoods across the street from the existing properties here. So should have a minimal impact on those properties as well. So as you can see from this study, really the shadow impacts really fall on the right-of-way and the commercial properties across the street to the north. Where was I? Okay. The project will also add 6 street trees along the corridor and improve that sidewalk overall, and remove those remove the existing curb cuts with providing that 1 10-foot curb cut. The proposed project will have, that 23-foot setback along the rear property line for the residential floors. And as well, we did provide the a traffic engineering evaluation prepared by Lee Klein. I'm sure he can answer specific questions you have them about that. But overall, that report did conclude that the project would not generate a sufficient amount of vehicle trips and would not have a significant impact on traffic conditions during the AM and PM peak hour commuter traffic hours, and that the proposed 38 parking spaces, including the 6 car sharing spaces, would be adequately serve the needs of the project's residents. The project won't have substantial detriment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan or zoning ordinance. The purpose of this commercial automotive district was to upgrade the appearance and function of Communipaw Avenue through screening and buffering of sensitive site planning, selective acquisition of properties, and the relocation of parking. The master plan recognizes that the CA district along Communipaw Avenue presents a unique planning challenges due to the well-entrenched and undesirable automotive uses on small lots. The master plan also recognizes the existing automotive use natures on Communipaw Avenue conflicts with the district's dual function as a major east-west transportation corridor and a gateway into the city. Furthermore, the predominance of low-end automotive uses generate significant nuisance impacts. So this proposed project would provide for new attractive commercial spaces and residential density in an area to improve the gateway into Jersey City and promote a variety of housing. The property is also sufficiently sized to accommodate the proposed mixed use, and the multifamily use is not inconsistent with other multifamily uses in the larger surrounding area. The proposed project advances the city's master plan by redeveloping the property and will provide unique, attractive, and high quality residential area that serve existing residents and attract new residents with a wide range of housing lifestyle choices. In conclusion, the proposed project is at the forefront of development along this section of Communipaw Avenue. It has a chance to help transform and significantly improve the area as an attractive gateway into the city. The requested variances necessary for the proposed project can be granted, and that both the positive and negative criteria have been met. And as discussed, the project is particularly well suited for the proposed, or the site is particularly well suited to the proposed mid-use multifamily building. And that concludes my testimony.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Worstel. So as I noted earlier, I do have Mr. Klein here as our traffic engineer. We did submit a report and his conclusions, as noted by Ms. Worstel, that it will not have a detrimental impact on traffic conditions and that the parking is sufficient. With that said, I'll defer to the board if they have any questions for Mr. Klein or if they would like to hear from him as to his conclusions in his report.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. I mean, I leave it up to the board. I don't know, and maybe staff or Mr. Harrington could weigh in on how many people here are from the public. They're going to ask about parking and traffic. I'm happy either way. I mean, I think that we looked at that analysis from Ms. Worstel. If people want to hear from Lee right now, we could do that, or just, as follow-up to questions from the public.
Okay, certainly available for any questions from the board or from the public going forward.
Okay. Does anyone?
Just maybe, I don't know, if there are a significant number of folks from the the public. I do have questions, but I'm also kind of willing to sit tight, get the public comment over with, because then we might be in better shape for articulating my questions better.
I am happy to hold all board questions until after we hear from the public, because I would also be interested in hearing, sometimes I think it's better to hear from the staff also, which helps, formulate how I'm thinking about things. So unless, there's any objections, I'll say, Lindsay, let's open up to the public. And then I don't know if you're seeing any hands raised, if you want to explain to people the process for how to pose a question. And Commissioner Shadid is the timekeeper. He's going to let people know when they have 1 minute or 30 seconds remaining, and they have 3 minutes for their question or comment.
My pleasure.
All right, so if anyone has a question or a comment, please click raise hand on the bottom of your screen. And if you're calling in, dial *9, and that'll let us know that you have a question and we can unmute you. So we're just gonna go down the list. Once I unmute you, you're gonna state and spell your full name for the record, and Commissioner Shadid will be keeping time. Everyone will have 3 minutes to provide a comment or ask questions. All right, so starting with Jeffrey Ball. Jeffrey, I have to promote you to panelist. Okay, so you'll be able to turn your camera on and unmute and mute yourself. So once we can hear you, please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Mr. Ball, are you able to speak? It doesn't look like you're muted. All right.
Okay. Never
Let's
mind.
try somebody else. Mr. Ball, hopefully you can figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think they have audio, whatever device they are, based on the symbols that popped up. But anyway, next is a phone number. If your number ends in 9674, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record. It's showing that you're muted, so you may need to dial *6 to unmute.
It's too tough to discuss. Yes, good evening. My name is Jonathan Pavlik, Pavlick, a resident on Mallory Avenue.
Okay, there's some background noise. Can you mute? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is that better?
If you can,
not really.
Your radio or TV, that would be great.
Okay, I just did.
Okay, Mr. Pavlik, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are, and that you will consider your testimony as under oath this evening?
Yes, I am. Yes, I do.
Thank you.
No, I was just saying, I've been a resident of Jersey City of Mallory Avenue for many years now, and hopefully the board will approve this project. I think it would definitely be a great asset to the community and the surrounding areas.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, next is Esther. Esther, I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
My name is Esther Wintner, and I'm curious, is it a requirement to give our address? Hello?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Okay, because they don't do it at the council meetings. That's why I'm asking why it's required here. Okay, Mr. LaPaglia?
Yes.
My address is 91 Bentley Avenue.
And Ms. Widner, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are, and that you will consider your testimony as under oath this evening?
I do.
And could you spell your last name?
Wintner.
W-I-N.
Vintner, like a wine vintner, except with the W.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Okay, just a couple of things. I do live in the area. I've lived here for close to 30 years. I've seen how it's changed in terms of primarily the density and the issues that we have in the area, such as parking and traffic. With respect to the traffic on the area, I don't know when the traffic studies were done, the times of day, which days they were done, but I will attest to the fact that the traffic in this area is brutal on some days. There are days that you can't even get down Communipaw Avenue. There are days that spillover goes down to West Side Avenue. The parking has become it's become so difficult. It's one of the primary things people talk about with respect to parking. And to see that the building will have 90 units with less than 50% parking just does not make sense to me. I'm also very concerned about the height because I believe it is out of scale with the community. This is a community that we bought into. I am all for renaissance of the community. I'm all for development, but I don't believe that a building 6 stories high is appropriate for this type of neighborhood, bringing in additionally more density to the neighborhood. Hearing the presentation from Ms. Worstel was very interesting and it was very good. But we live here and these are our homes and it's not that sterile. And so what looks good on paper doesn't necessarily translate well to a neighborhood, to a community where people live. And I hope that this zoning board, I mean, why do we even have all these zones if, we're just going to grant all these variances? It's a reason for that. So if they want to put up a building, something smaller, it's going to impact the sunlight even to the park.
1 minute to go.
We love Lincoln Park. It is a jewel to this neighborhood. Having a tall building facing Lincoln Park changes the whole thing. It's certainly not something that I nor my family want to see. I hope you will consider that. And on the last note, I don't know who, I have to say this, I don't know which one of you was the one who said this, but someone remarked, let's get the public comment over with, as if we were an annoyance and we are disturbing you. This is our home and this is our neighborhood and we are residents and we are taxpayers. And I hope that you consider us as people who have a voice and not as an annoyance and people that you just need to get the public speaking portion over with. It's rude, it's condescending.
Thank you very much. And I apologize on behalf of the board, for any board members' comments that were misconstrued as, anything that would be disrespectful to the public. It's absolutely not the intention. Actually, I'm positive that the intention was to say that we value more the viewpoints of the public than our own viewpoints. We want to hear from the public first, and actually we think that the public will raise the questions in advance and probably more coherently than we would. So that really was, I think, what unanimously from the board would be the intent of any statement about saying, let's move forward with the public comment, because we want, and I think anyone who's been to board meetings over the past couple of years would certainly say that the thing this board values more than anything else is making sure that the public are listened to, and that applicants take into account what the viewpoint of the people who live there is, because you're all going to be living there when this building is built, whatever building, whatever project, and we want to make sure that the applicant and the neighbors understand that and get along. So thank you very much. Lindsay, next person, please.
Next, we have Miguel. I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Miguel Saltos. That's Miguel Saltos, and I live on 23 Belvedere Avenue, which is approximately 60 feet away from where the building will be erected.
And Saltos, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are, and you will consider your testimony as if it was under oath this evening?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I just want to say that the presentation that Ms. Worstel gave is just incredible. I am very happy with the building. I am for it. Unlike what some of the other neighbors, even though I do understand their issues with parking, and I do feel bad about that because yes, Jersey City is really bad when it comes to parking. I feel like the type of people that are coming into the neighborhood is changing, and the city will keep changing. I myself, I don't drive. I'm a single person. I bought a condo, and the walkability from where I am to the mall that is all the way in 440 is unacceptable with the way the traffic lights are at the moment, with the way the parking lots and the automobile shops are there. It's very dangerous. And so I am pro, and I'm very happy that they're building this. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have James. James, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
It's James Feeney, F as in Frank, EE, and as in Nancy, EY. My address is 91 Bentley Avenue.
And Mr. Feeney, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are, and that you will consider your testimony as under oath this evening?
I do.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm a lifelong Jersey City resident. I bought the home over 30 years ago. I live in this neighborhood. I've depended on public transportation for many, many years. And you're going to stick, first of all, as said earlier, parking is horrendous. It's just going to push problems further and further. There will be people trying to park in the park overnight. Second of all, this is a public transportation desert for the most part. And you have buses come by, but I've stood on the corner of Communipore Avenue as bus after bus already full with people went by me. Okay. And now there's much more development further down West Side Avenue. There's going to be more development on 440. There's not going to be any new public transportation. Okay? Traffic in this area is already horrendous. There are days, as we heard, you cannot get up and down Communipore Avenue. There were days when I would drive out in the morning, it would take me a half hour to get from West Side Avenue to across 440 and onto 1 and 9. Half an hour to go that quarter of a mile. This is going to make it multiple times worse, especially during the construction. Next of all, it's completely out of scale with the neighborhood. If you need 5 variances to build a building, why do we have planning areas? We might as well just throw it out the window and just let anybody build whatever they want, because you need that many variances. It's not in scale with the neighborhood. It's not what's supposed to be there. It's not what the planning says. If we're not going to pay attention to the planning, what's the point of having a planning board? What purpose do you serve except to rubber stamp every developer who comes by with a fistful of money? This will impact this neighborhood negatively. It's going to make life harder on everyone, public transportation harder, driving, parking.
1 minute to go.
We need you to stand up for the people in the neighborhood. The density here is already pretty high. We don't need to start putting up 6, 7, next will be 10-story buildings as we jam them along the park. This neighborhood was not built for it. The transportation system's not built for it. You need to take the people who live here into consideration, since I don't think that many of you do live in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have Joel. Joel, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Joel, Joel, last name Brooks, Brooks. And my address is 37 Duncan Avenue.
And Mr. Brooks, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if it was under oath this evening?
I verify I verify I am. Yes, I guess the simple answer to that is yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Before my 3 minutes, I just had a couple questions. I don't know if that is permissible.
I mean, I don't know what you mean. Do you want to ask all of your questions sequentially and then
Yeah, why don't I do that?
They'll be
And
answered.
then I'll go into my testimony, if that's fine.
Is there a way to combine the two? Because, probably what's going to happen is after the public speaks, it's going to be a whole bunch of kind of commentary / questions. And then the applicant's experts are going to respond in kind to some of the things that were raised by the public.
Thank you. Okay. So I'll start with the questions. 2 questions for the commissioners. Number 1, when was the IZO passed by the city council? When is that ordinance applicable, noting that this particular development is superseding the 5% affordability requirement? So that's my first question. My second question is 847 Communipaw Avenue. I'm curious at what meeting that was approved. The zoning variances were approved. My third question, and I'm trying to go slowly for Ms. Lombardozzi. My third question is the UHAC 50 to 80% moderate level. Is that the moderate level that Mr. Harrington is saying these developments will fall under in terms of the 10% affordable units they propose? My fourth question is, will these developments have private jitneys for residents to Journal Square or to the West Side Light Rail? That's a very common practice in these newer kind of more upscale luxury developments. And so the residents of these developments don't have to get on the bus with the rest of us. So that's my fourth question. I'll go right into my testimony because I know I'm limited by time. Our current city council member for Ward B arranged a Zoom meeting with the developers.
1 minute to go.
Thank you, Mr. Shadid. With the developers and community members. At that meeting, we learned the following. These projects would not be built with union labor. The projected rent for 847 Communipaw could not be disclosed at that time. The projected rent for the other 2 developments that are being contemplated tonight would be at least $1,800 for a 1-bedroom. That number since went up to $2,200. Since my time is wrapping up, I will ask the commissioners to vote against these variances. 6 stories is wildly out of character with the 2- and 3-story low-rise independent businesses on West Side Ave and Mallory Ave. Residents are against this. This is not in tune with what the community wants. We have many quality of life issues we need to resolve in this area, and this project would exacerbate those. So with that, it's hard when you talk slowly. That's my 3 minutes.
I actually had a kind of follow-up question for Mr. Brooks because I was writing down all the questions to make sure that we would address them. Your third question, I didn't quite understand the context about the 50 to 80%, I guess, moderate income housing units or something. I wasn't keeping up with your words, and I was trying to, and I wanted to make sure that we understood exactly what you were asking so we could respond.
Sure.
Or have staff respond.
Well, what's appropriate, me or the staff?
No. It will in all likelihood be staff that's going to city planning staff that's going to answer most of your questions. But could you please clarify your third question?
Absolutely. My third question was Mr. Harrington, or one of the presenters, I can't remember which, said these affordable units would be moderate income. And so my question is that under the UHAC definition of moderate, 50 to 80% AMI?
If I could answer that now. Would be up to 80% of the AMI.
Thank you. And so since I'm still unmuted, I'll just take the privilege and ask, for how long would these units be affordable? For how many years?
30 years.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington.
Mr. Jacobs, just so, Chairman, just
very
so we
much.
can get another question answered, 847, 849 Communipaw Avenue, that was heard on February 25th. And curiously enough, that resolution is before me right now and be memorialized tonight.
Thank you, Mr. LaPaglia.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Brooks, we'll try to get all of your questions answered.
Okay. Next, I apologize if I do not pronounce your name correctly. Shatra, I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chatra Rabindradat. I live at 63 Roosevelt, and I'll spell my name since it's very long. First name is spelled C-H-A, T as in Tom, R-A. Last name is spelled R-A-B as in boy, I as in igloo, N as in Nancy, D as in David, R as in Robert, A as in Apple, D as in David, A as in Apple, T as in Tom.
And Ms. R, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will have your testimony tonight as if it is under oath?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions, being that this house is this two buildings are going to be completely across the street and in my backyard, basically. I would like to see the full traffic analysis and dates that the study was done, because being a long-term resident, and of course, my family has also lived here for over 30 plus years, owning multiple buildings all along the same blocks as well. We have seen firsthand that traffic will back up all the way from 440 all the way up into MLK. And it will take probably an hour from MLK to reach 440 into the turnpike. I would also like to know what the moderate housing pricing would be, being that the average price within the area, rent would cost between $1,200 to $1,500 for a 3-bedroom apartment. As well as storm drainage development plans, because from what I know, as Communipaw doesn't really have much storm drainage currently, rainwater will tend to seep up. And if storm drainage would need to happen, we would also need to dig up the roads of Communipaw, which will lead to continuous road damage. And we already face that as a daily along these roads. I would also like to note that along with the other buildings that have been built throughout Jersey City, which includes the Agnes, which was recently completed along 440, the building is based along Route 440, which is a big, I would count it as a highway in Jersey City. So it does have the spacing for that. With this building being built along Communipaw, not only do I personally think that it is obstruction of view and also defeating the purpose of having like a community development and a community area, being that the park is so close. Owning a home in the area within the last 20 years, I know more than
1 minute to go.
More than half of us residents are actually living there for 20 plus years. We have seen this community develop from the ground up, and we've also played a big major role in the development. With this building being developed, I feel like it's unethical, being the fact that the residents have been complaining about parking, damaged roads, and along the lines of those things throughout a numerous amount of years, which have not been addressed. Being that this also has 5 variances,
30 seconds.
It will not look appeasing to the eye because it is, of course, as other people have stated, not up to par with the other buildings within the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we have Val. Val, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Sure. It's Val, well, full name is Valeri, that's Valeriy. Last name Verkhovskiy. And address 145 Lexington Avenue.
And Mr. V, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony tonight as if given under oath?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First and foremost, I'd like to advise my great, I'm very happy this is being built or being proposed. Everyone knows, especially the sidewalks, the Communipaw Avenue, they're a mess. All those parking lots full of garbage and broken sidewalks. My mother, who lives around the corner from there, 70 years old, she almost tripped several times. So I'm very happy that the sidewalks are being redone. That's going to add a lot more safety to the area. I'm also happy that there'll be further lighting in the area as at night, given that there's pretty much no one lives on Communipaw there. Its lighting is a big problem. So it always was a safety concern. Now that there's going to be further lighting, more pedestrian traffic, it's definitely going to improve safety in the area. In terms of traffic, everyone that lives in Jersey City knows that Communipaw Avenue has always had traffic, always will have traffic. I mean, this is our main avenue that we enter our city and we leave our city. It is right next to 109 440. I mean, there will always be traffic. So anyone complaining that these developments are going to add traffic, no. There's traffic because everyone leaves the city and goes into the city using this very road. So I think that argument is really does not apply. In terms of size, I think it's very appropriate since we discussed the other building adjacent to this development approved exactly the same size. So that's obviously gonna fit the neighborhood. In terms of, the development as a whole.
1 minute to go.
It's not displacing anyone. It's being built on empty lots that have been really an eyesore to the neighborhood. So since my time is up, please approve this development. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Kayvon. Kayvon, I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Kayvon Zand. That's spelled K-A-Y, V as a Victor, O-N. The last name is Zand, Z like zebra, A, and as in Nancy, D as in dog. And I live at 193 Lexington Avenue.
And Mr. Zand, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if given under oath this evening?
100%.
Thank you.
So I feel like I'm going to represent a demographic that really hasn't been represented within this meeting, and that's the pedestrians. You know, most of my neighbors, I live on Lexington Avenue, 2 blocks south, are pedestrians, people who don't drive. And as a parent who has 2 kids, one on the way, pushing our double stroller down Communipaw is actually dangerous because those car lots, they take up the sidewalk. I've reported them, they'll get ticketed, they'll do the same thing. There's so much garbage. It's just not a very safe place for pedestrians. And that's, someone mentioned one of the main corridors is by Lincoln Park. Just crossing the light from that McDonald's to the park is dangerous within itself. I feel like the benefit of this project is very advantageous for the pedestrians, the people like my neighbors who walk, who have the kids, who have the strollers, who want to be able to walk down the lighted street at night, you know, who want to be able to maybe have a shop open up. Hey, listen, 546 Westside Avenue, we petitioned for that library to open there, and it's such a perk for our community. If we could get something like that in that commercial space down there, I mean, not a library, obviously, but something for the community, that would be such an advantage point. And I feel like when it comes to the situation with transportation and all of that, well, you know, there's the Vias, which are now running Mondays through Saturdays. I think Joel Brooks made a great point about the developer hopefully offering transportation to Journal Square. I think that's a really good point. Also, let's keep in mind 25 parking spots were newly added on my block, which is on Mallory and Lexington. That's 25 new spots, which have just been added as well. I think this is a great project for the community. I understand people's views and, you know, living behind it, you know, and all of that. But I think for the overall, like the pedestrians, the people who walk, this is, if you look north to the park, there's so much development there just by that little playground. You know, and on this side, it's like it's completely dead. It's like a ghost town at night. If you walk down Communipot at night, it's like you're walking down a car cemetery. It feels like a junkyard, to be quite frank. The dealerships do not clean up the sidewalks. They don't respect the pedestrian way of life. It's really about their business. And all of the, you know, all of the oil and things that have
1 minute to go.
yeah, that have created waste to the ground. That's not good for Roosevelt Avenue either. That's a hazardous waste site, you know? So I think it's great for the community, and I really hope that you guys work with the developer to have this project move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Jeffrey Ball again. Let's see if we fixed your audio issues. Jeffrey, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, Jeffrey.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ball. I don't think we can hear you.
Can he just text his opinion, yes or no, or with the project or without the project?
We can't use the chat
That would be
function
easy for him.
We can't use the chat function for the
Oh,
record. Yeah, we
Good.
disable that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Also, Mr. Ball, you could call in as well. The number is on the agenda, and I'll put it in the chat box. I can add things. Maybe you'll have an easier time calling in. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to go to the next person. Next, we have Travis. Travis, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Travis, I think you have to unmute yourself. Now
Hello?
you can mute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. My name is Travis Jagru. That's Jagro. And I live at 56 Roosevelt Avenue.
And Mr. Jagru, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if under oath this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
I am representing the group of 28 residents and homeowners of Roosevelt Avenue who live directly behind the building site and originally reached out in opposition of this project but could not join us tonight. We have an online petition that has almost 300 signatures from the wider community. I am now going to read a statement from our group. We, the residents and homeowners of Roosevelt Avenue, completely and unequivocally oppose the proposed construction at 851 to 859 Communipot Avenue. This project requests multiple variances for completion. At what point on the zoning law is just a joke? A 6-story building is triple the height of most homes surrounding the site. A 6-story building with 90 units and 36 parking spots. How does that work exactly? Where are the remaining 54 residents going to park their vehicles? Let's be real, no one in this building will be taking public transportation. Even with the added parking previously mentioned, it's not enough. Don't even get us started on the already existing traffic issues along Communipot Avenue. We live here. We know firsthand what the traffic situation is, and bad news, it's not great. Again, we ask, at what point are the zoning laws just a joke? At what point does it stop? Some of you won't feel the direct effect of this project until it is too late. Some could think of it more as a domino effect. Once this building goes up, what's to stop the same thing from happening in your backyard if this is the new standard? It is completely unfair to everyone involved, including the zoning board, and now we have to spend massive amounts of time and energy fighting this development. For anyone unaware, this meeting is for one building of 90 units. However, there's a second building attached to this one consisting of 70 more units for a grand total of 160 units. I'd like to clarify that we welcome use of the area for businesses that would improve the quality of life for residents in the area under the existing zoning laws. However, this 6-story tower is not the answer, and the only purpose it will serve is to put a huge amount of money in the pockets of the developer. We will continue to oppose and fight this.
1 minute to go.
These are our homes where we live with our families, some of us for over 40 years. We can sign off this meeting and forget about this building, but we will have to live with it forever. Please, we implore the Board of Zoning and Adjustments to not approve this proposed building. It is not in the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have a call-in number ending in 5312. I am unmuting you. You should be able to unmute yourself by dialing *6. Again, number ending in 5312. I just allowed you to unmute yourself. You may need to dial *6 to do so. Okay. Okay. Just gonna move on to the next person. I'll leave them up there if they could figure it out. Next, we have Mary Elizabeth. I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Mary Jagru, and I live at 56 Roosevelt Avenue.
And Ms. Jagru, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony tonight as if it was under oath?
Yes, I do.
And could you spell your last name for the record?
Jagroo. And is there any way I am able to be a panelist and show my camera?
Yep. Let's see. Okay, she's rejoining as a panelist, so you should be able to start your video now.
Hi, hello. So, hi, Zoning Board. Hope everyone's doing well tonight, and just thank you so much for hearing my comments. So I'm coming to you as a homeowner in the area, and I wanted to go ahead and start off by just showing this right here, because I think it's very important to understand the actual scope of this development in relation to the neighborhood and our homes. So we already know that this is a request for a lot of variances to be granted based on how massive this is, but I think it might be telling in this case that the developer does not have a mock-up like this that shows how it will fit in the neighborhood, and this request is being done for 2 separate buildings, but since the next building begins where the first one ends, I think it's really important for you to understand exactly how massive this is going to be, and this combined with the fact that 847 to 849 has already been approved for a much smaller 6-story building means it's just going to be a wall of buildings. So I really think that a lot of people here who are for this or who are against this have actually made some really good points. And I don't think that anyone is going to argue that our area could use some love here, you know? And I'm not convinced that the correct route to improve this area is to approve this particular building as it stands right now. You know, when something like this comes up, it's really just pitting the members of the community over here against each other, against themselves, because we're only getting the option here to stand for or against this building the way that it is exactly right now. And so, you know, I think it's amazing to hear so many voices tonight who really care about this community, and so many people who were moved to come on here and share their passion for their community. But, you know, if we all work together to voice that, this might not be the exact right development for our community. We would really have the upper hand here to inform what the development could actually be. But when people are coming here accepting this just as it is right now, it feels like we're just selling out a large portion of our neighborhood to the highest bidder. And I also think maybe people don't understand that no matter what happens tonight, if this is approved or if this is not approved, that's not simply the end of everything. You know, I spoke earlier today with Nick Scalea, and he's the licensed site remediation professional working on the contamination at 859 Communipaw Avenue. And they're still working on the report for that. They'll need time for public comment. So it's going to be months before anything can even happen here. And then, so instead of rushing to approve this right now, why not use this time to work with the community on a better plan for a development on this land that will be in the better interest of the community as a whole? You know, there's other routes to stop this or slow it as it moves along, but before taking the nuclear option right away, you know, wouldn't it make more sense to take time to talk to the community together and take something that could work for everyone out of this? You know, I'm just here tonight to ask you to not grant these variances for either of these buildings tonight. So thank you very much for your time.
Perfect timing.
Thank you.
Okay, we still have the call-in number 5312. If you're able to unmute yourself. Okay, gonna move on. Next we have, again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Alishiba. I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
It's Charles O'Day. I'm signing, I guess, but with my daughter's name. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, so my full name is Charles, Charles, last name O'Day, Odei.
And Charles, hello, by the way, Charles, do you swear, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if it is under oath this evening?
I am and I do, so help me God.
Thank you.
Can I begin?
Mr. O'Day, feel free to start whenever.
Oh, we need to get Mr. O'Day's address, I think.
Sorry.
84 Williams Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, 07304.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. In brief, I'm here to say that I support the two buildings. And the reason is that if anybody travels down Communipaw, it's essentially more like an industrial zone. The most palatable part of Communipaw is West Bergen Avenue and Communipaw Avenue, the corner. And that became palatable only when they built that residential building at that corner. The rest of Communipaw need that kind of cleanup. My strong belief is that if we promote residential buildings of that nature and of the nature as being prescribed or advocated by the developer, it will start the cleaning up of Communipaw Avenue. The lighting would be better, the sidewalks would be better, and ultimately, in the long run, the place would be cleaned up and Communipaw would become a better area to live and then impact the rest of the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple more hands came up. Okay, next we have Chris. Chris, I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Chris Perez, P-E-R-E-Z, at 69 Union Street.
And Mr. Perez, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if it is under oath this evening?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I just wanted to kind of echo on what I think her name was Mary Elizabeth said. I actually had a question about this project in terms of how much community engagement has transpired from the original thought of bringing this project together, engaging community feedback. As many of you know, I participate a lot in facilitating that kind of stuff in my own community. And it sounds a lot like an all or nothing situation here. And, some kind of building on Communipaw is probably appropriate. But the question becomes, is this the right building? Does it have to be all or nothing? Is a 6-story building really appropriate here, kind of shadowing all the homes behind it? In the NC zone, which was referenced a couple of times in the presentation, the NC zone allows a building up to 55 feet, where it has commercial on the ground floor and residential above. This supersedes, or exceeds rather, the NC zone. I'm sure that there are some compromises that could be made to bring a building to fruition that improves the lighting on Communipaw, that improves the sidewalks, that brings some density and pedestrian traffic, commercial, and uplift the environment, but not necessarily have to be so intense of a building. And so I would ask is that the developer connect with the community and come up with a compromise. Maybe it's not 6 stories, maybe some of the upper floors step back in the back to not be so imposing on the homes behind it. But I'm a big advocate for a compromise, and I really hope the board suggests that the developer and the community around come together and come up with a happy place that creates all the improvements we need without this all or nothing concept. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, next we have Barbara. Barbara, I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Camacho. I reside at 20 Pearsall Avenue.
Okay, and Ms. Camacho, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as under oath this evening?
I do.
And could you spell your last name, please?
Camacho.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've been listening to the residents and I was listening to the presenters, and I want to drill down on positive criteria and negative criteria because I'm not entirely sure that they have carried the burden. I heard 6-story residential with 90 units, 39 parking spaces. And that doesn't qualify as an inherently a use that inherently serves the public. It also doesn't, he didn't say anything about having an undue hardship or economic inutility if he builds something that is zone compliant. So the only other way that he could get the positive criteria is to demonstrate that this particular proposed site is particularly suitable for the proposed use. And a 6-story building isn't particularly suited just because it's a big lot. The zoning for this particular area is very clear. You can have automotives, body shops, financial financial institutions, you can have restaurants. All of those things can be appropriate and are deemed appropriate by the zoning law. This is something that's not conforming and he has to meet a standard. And I don't think he's done that. And I didn't hear anything in his presentation that carries that. The other part of this is the negative criteria. My understanding is that you have to actually establish with the negative criteria that you're not going to substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zoning. And the intent and purpose of the zoning was commercial, auto commercial. How does putting residences in that kind of a district not directly contradict the zoning? And in order to do that, you have to establish clearly that it's promoting the general welfare. And as you can see from the testimony across the board, this is going to impact people who travel by car, people who travel by bus. And frankly, the idea that putting more people into this situation where they talked about a drop off. So people are going to be pulling into this drop off and then trying to merge back into Communipaw traffic. That doesn't strike me as safe. That suggests to me that pedestrians are going to be at risk. That strikes me as people who are moving in cars are going to be at risk.
30 seconds.
I think that this is an opportunity for the developer to go back to the community that's going to be most affected, and try to figure out something that's more compatible with the scale of the neighborhood and still compliant with the zoning. The zoning is very generous as it is. This application only benefits the applicant. And just because it benefits him by allowing him a more profitable use doesn't mean that the board should give
Time's
that
up.
over the objection of his neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, Zoom username Pasty. I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
My name is Mr. Campitiello, Compitillo, Pasqualino, Pasqualino. My question is, we don't want this building back here because we have enough problem.
Mr. Compolito, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as under oath this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And could you state your address for the record?
54 Roosevelt, right behind where you guys want to put a building.
Thank you.
So my question is, they're talking about a sidewalk, they are all demolished, the people they tripping here and there. Why the owner, they don't fix the sidewalk like they telling me to fix my sidewalk if something goes wrong. That way nobody can trip and nobody can get hurt. So this is an other question that they're gonna want to build a 6-story high building. I never able to see the sun back there. So I know that you guys will do whatever you want to do because they pay the mayor. The mayor says, okay, do whatever you want because you guys are multimillionaire. But we've been living here for 50, 60 years. And we put up with a chromio, we put up with the soil contaminated and this and that. Now they're going to start to do it again and start digging it. I tell you, it's very not good. We don't want this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have a call-in number, number ending in 7054. If that is your number, I am unmuting you. You should be able to dial *6 to unmute yourself. Again, it's if your number ends in 7054.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, could you please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please?
Jeffrey Ball, Jeffrey Ball. I'm an owner at 56 Roosevelt Avenue.
And Mr. Ball, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if under oath this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hey, a lot of people want this building and they talk about things that the city is supposed to be fixing, the street, the sidewalk, things like that. That's the city. That building shouldn't be responsible to fix all that stuff. Also, a single person wanted it that takes the subway and everything. There's a lot of families in this area, and you have to take a look at those families. Communipol, I urge the board members to go out there during the rush hour and tell me that traffic is horrendous. And more people mean more traffic. I don't care what they say, traffic's going to be traffic. More people mean more traffic. That traffic condition needs to be fixed before anything's built down that end of Communipol. Parking is terrible. I lived in the Heights in a 34-unit condo complex that had 32 parking spaces. We had a waiting list. Everybody wants to have their own vehicles. There's a lot of cars parked on the street. That's going to be the same for this building. I don't care how many community cars you have, people are going to want to have their own cars. Noise, with COVID and now more companies going to teleworking for good, this building would take 2 years to build. Where am I supposed to work during the day with all this noise going on? A 6-story building towers over all this housing, and it would change the landscape and making privacy in our backyards a thing of the past. Even on your schematic, you can see how much more, how large that unit is compared to everything around the area. Putting that here, it shouldn't be done. Last board meeting, you approved a 5-story building in the junction that was being built on a large corner lot with exit traffic going onto a low traffic side road.
1 minute to
These
go.
attributes were looked at as a positive thing. This is a 6-story building with more units being built on a small middle lot with exit traffic being directed onto a very busy road. This is not a positive thing. I strongly urge the board to disapprove the construction of the building. But if you don't, I would like to know if any impact on traffic study's been done on Roosevelt Avenue, and when do you expect to break ground if it's approved? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I see like a couple of hands keep popping up. Chairman, did we want to maybe just hear these last few comments and then give Bridget a break and move on?
Well, I mean, Bridget is in charge, so I mean,
She-
we're gonna take a break whenever she wants to take a break.
I'm the messenger here from her.
Bridget, if you want, up to you. Do you want to take a break now? Do you want to? I mean, I don't know how many more people there'll be. I'd love to say we can close out the public and then take a break, but I don't know when that's going to be. But Bridget, you're in charge. You're taking everything down.
I see 4 more people. So let's do the 4 people and then see where we stand, but I'll need a break soon.
Okay.
Next we have Constantine. I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Konstantin Kudryavtsev. That is Konstantin Kudryavtsev, and my address is 2600 Kennedy Boulevard.
Okay, and Mr. K, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if under oath this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just going to start off by saying that I am pro this development, even though I agree with some points that people who against it maybe the extent is too big for what it is. But if you have been on commuting path, especially late hours, it's completely hostile, unwalkable, all of those things, trash and oil spills, very hostile environment. And so I personally try to avoid it as much as I can, but sometimes that's unavoidable. And basically, yeah, so maybe it could have been done better, but since no one else picked up the job, I guess this development is beneficial to at least the people on Community Avenue and adjacent territories, streets. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a call in number ending in 5312. I am unmuting you. You should be able to dial *6 to unmute yourself.
Yes, my name is Michelina Competiello. I live at 54 Roosevelt Avenue.
Static.
Could you state your name?
Okay, Michelina, Michelina, Competiello, Competiello.
And your address?
Okay, it's no point to go and say everything.
Ma'am?
54 Roosevelt Avenue.
Okay, and Ms. Campitello, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are? And you will
Yes, I am, of course.
Consider your testimony tonight as given under oath?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. All my previous people, whatever they say, it's just to the way I feel. It's not point to me go on and say it exactly. you know, because of Travis, Mary, Patsy, they're all, I mean, this is out of the question. We are already packed like sardines around here. I mean, we needed to be squeezed more in. I mean, this neighborhood for 47 years. Now, I can't even go in my backyard because I have this monster in the back of my yard. There's no school. There's no room to send the kids to school. So when are you going to send these kids to school when you pack up with so many hundreds of people already in there? Can anybody think of that? Why did they build the school before they built to bring more people in here and pack us up more than we are? So the rest, like I say, I hear every other neighbors to where they, and I feel the same way. Is no, no. So thank you, and I hope it goes through.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have Noreen. Noreen, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Narayan Rabindranath, 63 Roosevelt Avenue in Jersey City, New Jersey.
And spell your full name.
Narinebindradath.
And Mr. R, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony tonight as if it was under oath?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Now, my concern is that we are already impacted here with parking problems. And if you're going to put another 100 stories and 100 family there, and you get only 30 or 40 parking facilities, what will occur with the other 60%? And the traffic, as one person already said, if you come through rush hours on Community Park Avenue, it will take you at least 30 minutes to get through that light facilities to go to the highway. Now, if Community Park Avenue will be occupied, the third situation will be on Roosevelt Avenue. What will occur with the people on Roosevelt Avenue? If there's a little incident on Roosevelt Avenue, it took us more than 30 minutes to get out of this block because of the facilities on the west side and Roosevelt. So that impact for 2 years will be affected. We will be affect not only the people on Community Avenue, but our entire community. And apart from that, a six-story building there will be ridiculous for the people who were living here for so many years. I think if development into the community and development on Roosevelt will be fine, but not with the six-story building. So I'm totally disapproved with the six-story building on Community Park Avenue.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have a call-in, number ending in 6548. I am unmuting you. Again, number ending in 6548. You should be able to unmute yourself. You may need to dial *6 to do so.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Hi. My name is Charlene Acevedo. That's CHARLENE, ACE, V as in Victor, EDO. And my address is 76 Roosevelt Avenue.
And Ms. Acevedo, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony tonight as if it is under oath?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So basically this whole project literally is in my backyard. Okay. This is going to take away some of our sunlighting. It's going to obviously add some more congestion to the area, worsen air quality and noise. All of this we know. But as a community, you know, this is all impacting the quality of our life. We all agree that, you know, we can use some more development that's going to beautify the area and make it better, you know, for the area. But just 6 stories that's literally in our backyard is really unreasonable. I think that as a community, we should oppose and just not settle for just anything that a developer throws at us. You know, there's always room to, basically, there's some room for compromise. So that's basically my statement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I see one more hand raised. We have, okay, two. We have Eliza.
Well, did we?
Do we want to keep
reach
going
some-
or?
Well, I mean, I don't understand. If this was an in-person meeting, we would say at some point you can't be shy. You're going to raise your hand if you're going to speak. You can't just wait until other people have talked to try to get to the end. Did we go through 4 that Bridget said she wanted to go through to see where we stood?
Yes.
Bridget, would you like to take a break? Would you like to see 2 more and then hopefully that's the end of the public?
We'll take 2 more and then a break no matter what.
Okay, next we have Eliza. I'm unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Eliza Viray. Our address is 70 Roosevelt Avenue. We're right
Eliza,
behind
could you spell your last name, please?
Viray.
And do you verify, Ms. Viray, that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as under oath this evening?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are literally at the back of where the used to be the Al's Diner parking, and we had dealt with the noise and everything that has happened when Al's Diner was still open. We had problems with the noise at wee hours in the morning, and we had to call the police just because of the noise. And this is literally like the one, our neighbor at 76. We are really at the back. That's our backyard. And with a 6-story building, we won't enjoy the sunlight anymore, the quality. And we'll be literally looking at the building in our backyard, in our terrace. So what would be the quality of life for us? What would be the privacy factor for all of us? We are lucky that we don't have any problems with parking. Ours is a 2-lot property. But the thing is, I have to look out for our neighbors, our community, and I'm all for progress, but a 6-story building, no. Please, please, don't approve this. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have Ruben. Ruben, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Ruben Lego, 64 Roosevelt Avenue.
And Mr. Lego, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if given under oath this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And if you could spell your full name?
Ruben, R-U-B-E-N. Last name is L-A-Y-G-O, Lego.
Thank you.
In regards about the development of community, I don't have any problem with that. But the problem is the 6-story building. That's the problem. And we're gonna have a lot of traffic right now. A lot of times, Roosevelt Avenue, we do have traffic here. It looks like there's a parade of cars in our street. That's gonna be a problem. So please don't approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. Lindsay, are there any other hands raised?
No.
Okay, then we're going to close the public portion of this application when we resume. Chuck, if you want to respond to any of the questions that were raised, and then we'll also make sure that we have staff comments. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Thank you.
I think we have all the commissioners.
Okay.
Well, we don't have Vinny. Sorry. I see.
All
you.
right,
So
here I
think
am.
we're all back.
Okay.
So we're on the record. Lindsay, do you want to promote Mr. Cauda?
I switched over.
Mr. Cauda, you're on but you're muted.
Unmute. Okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Joseph Cauda from Schumann Hanlon. I represent Mina Malik and Atef Nagib for 241 Clinton Avenue. Number 17. Number 17. Just my client wanted to respectfully request that our hearing be adjourned until the next meeting date and preserve notice, if that's possible.
I think so.
Yes, that's possible. It doesn't look like we're going to get there tonight anyway.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So for anyone who was here for 241 Clinton Avenue, that's being adjourned to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Which is? Yeah, and what's the I apologize. I don't recall what the next date is.
I think it's April 8th.
Yes,
April 8th.
Yeah.
And preserving notice, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you accommodating. Great night.
Thank you, Mr. Charlotte.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, before we go back to this, I'd like to request the same with regard to case number 16, because I don't see us getting there. If I could adjourn that to April 8th with preservation of notices.
Okay. Is that okay? Okay. I think Vinny said it's okay.
Guys, I'm sorry. I was looking for the application. Yes, we'll carry it to April 8th. We'll preserve your notices, and so that's 2 adjournments, right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, that's case 130 West Side Avenue.
Yeah. And 241 Clinton, in case anybody's in the public is waiting for those cases, they'll be adjourned to April 8th.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. Anything else before we get back to the case at hand? KC 20-071.
That's all for me.
Okay. And Mr. Harrington, I mean, feel free to have your experts answer these questions, however you want to. I know there were a lot of questions from the public. Some were quasi directed at the board and staff. I mean, the main takeaway I got, and certainly this is your application, it sounds like at least the community is not, there's some support and there's some not, opposed to it. I don't know to what extent you've been meeting with the community. I know I'm very enthusiastic about the idea of turning an industrial part of Communipaw into more of a mixed use area that could integrate with neighborhoods and the park. But it doesn't sound like this was a plan that a lot of the immediate neighbors think is a great stepping stone to that. I don't, I'm sure I'm misstating a lot of what you've done in community engagement.
Yeah, because I'd like to address that, because there was a lot of community engagement on this. So as I mentioned earlier, we've had 3 meetings. All were scheduled through Councilwoman Pranzeri, right? So the first meeting we had was in the fall, I believe, and that we had terrific positive feedback, and it was well attended. Then when we were scheduled for the initially for the board, and from that first meeting, we made changes in response to comments. We made facade changes. We added parking, actual spaces within the building, and we added that car sharing. And that's where I'm going to have Mr. Klein speak to how that is such a positive effect here. Then when we got closer, we were being scheduled for a meeting. Some other community members, I guess, saw the notice. They, I guess, weren't at the first one, and we stepped back and we had another meeting and explained that, and we made some additional changes. I forget what those were. But we also added the drop off in front of the building, and we had one that we worked with planning, and they weren't crazy about that, or the traffic department. So we changed that to the one that's being proposed tonight. Then we got another request that the Roosevelt Avenue Association, I think it's a newly formed association. They are the street directly behind us to the south of us. And we adjourned this, and we had another meeting with them. And in response to their comments, some of you heard them tonight. They think parking is an issue on their street, although they're two around the corner. We had some concerns about rooftop decks and noise, and people looking down into their yards and their houses. So we eliminated the rooftop deck entirely. We took out any terraces in the back. We actually reduced the length of the building so that it was further away. So these are all things that we already did in response to all these comments. So, I understand they still, a majority of the comments here are from people on Roosevelt Avenue, and I understand they have concerns, but we believe that we have a project that's fronting on Communipaw Avenue. We showed you the shadow study, and the shadow effects are going to be minimal, if any, because they're to the south of us, right? The sun is going to cast the shadows to the west and to the north. So, we had these meetings also with the 847 Communipaw Avenue project. So we're kind of all going together, this is one comprehensive development. So everybody saw it, coming, except for the last meeting. The last meeting with the Roosevelt Avenue group, that was just with us, because the 847 had proceeded to this board. But it was all kind of, look at this. This is the new development, hopefully, that you see coming down Communipaw Avenue. It's a gateway to the city there. So we all know it's kind of a desert right now, with the gym and the diner's gone. They're not going to, one of the benefits, I think, is one of the comments was all the noise from the diner. Well, you're not going to have that with the residential building. And that's where you're not going to have that on the roof deck, because there's no roof deck here. So, we have worked with them. We have responded to them. And, and that's why we're presenting this tonight. We think it's a good project, not only for this site, Communipaw. You've got across the street, it's predominantly residential, and then it leads right into Lincoln Park. We think it's a great idea to have this density next to Lincoln Park. All those streets across there at the dead end, they have entrances to the park. So you have access to get to the park. So we just think it's appropriate. And I think Ms. Worstel addressed the positive and negative criteria as part of it. But so I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Klein here, because I want him to address, the parking issues and the adequacy, because this car sharing adds an element to the building that I think is a tremendous bonus for the building and meeting the parking demands. And then, he could talk about the trips, like what you have now. You have a gym, you had a diner, you have cars constantly going in and out off of Communipaw Avenue. You're not going to have that with a residential building. It's going to be, even though you have these people living there, they're not going in and out as consistently as you would then. So with that said, Mr. Klein, if you could, you'd be sworn in.
Okay, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you could state and spell your full name for the record?
Lee, middle initial D as in Daniel, K-L-E-I-N.
Thank you.
I've been before this board actually for the 847. My license is still current. My professional traffic operations certificate is still in full force.
We accept your qualifications. Apologies, Mr. Klein. I thought in the beginning
did.
of the application, I said across the board, we accept everyone's qualifications. The three of you have been here a million times.
Right, thank you.
So, Mr. Klein, you heard some of the comments and by the public and what I just said. If you could, address how the shared car, program works and what that means, and then speak to the trips.
Sure. I put together a traffic engineering evaluation report dated February 8th, 2021. And in that report, I did a comparison of the trip generation of the existing 11,000 square foot powerhouse gym. If that were to reopen, that would generate 14 trips in the morning peak hour and 38 trips in the evening peak hour. And what we're proposing, the 90 units of residential mid-rise and the 3,700 square feet of commercial space, we're looking at a little slight increase of about 7 additional trips in the morning peak hour, but actually a decrease of about 22 trips in the evening peak hour. And as Mr. Harrington said, the intensity of the gym with people coming in the morning for their workouts, coming in after work, coming in at lunchtime. With a residential building, you don't have that kind of turnover of traffic in and out. As a matter of fact, these mid-rise types of buildings that are in this type of a setting, we're looking at quite a few of the people using mass transit, living here because they could walk down to the corner at West Side and pick up the bus, or and take that bus down to the light rail, or take a bus the other direction back into Newark. So this is a very mass transit rich area, and we feel that some people are going to take advantage of that. Not all, but some are. So now that gets into the parking numbers. So what we're proposing is, I think it's 38 or 37 or 38 parking spaces. We're proposing to take about 6 of those spaces and make them car share spaces. So we're looking at either Car to Go, which is a brand name, or Zip Car. And we're hoping is that we'll get these 6 cars placed in the site. And when residents that want to move here who realize, I don't really need a car Monday through Friday. I don't need a car for many uses that I've got here. I'm going to be able to walk to several things. I'll take the bus or the light rail to get to work. If I need to go out and meet a friend over somewhere else, I might grab the Zip Car, borrow that, and go meet my friend for dinner and then come back. Or if I need to go do maybe a larger grocery shop, I may, instead of ordering it online and having it delivered, I might go take the car and go pick up some things at the store. So it's really, it takes the place of, and I've heard ratios of up to 10, 13, the effect of taking the place of up to 13 cars that would be parked in the site that would go unused throughout the week and that would be used occasionally here and there. But we're looking at a ratio of about 1 to 6. So for every car share car that's parked on our site, we're saying that it's going to take the place of 6 parked cars on site that may just sit there and not really get used very often. So we're hoping that will be a positive to the area as well, that the residents won't have to, when they come here and they know that this service is going to be here, they'll be able to use this to their advantage. If they're coming from an area where they don't have a car already, they may be a little leery, but when they find out this is here, they say, oh, at least I have a car that if in a pinch, I need to use the car rather than take an Uber or a Lyft, it's there for me. So, and conservatively, we're saying it's going to act as if it's a 6-to-1 ratio. So when we do the math, we're at like around 68 cars is what we're parking on site with this ratio. And if you look at the 85th percentile from the Institute of Transportation Engineers for a mid-rise apartment without light rail or any kind of rail within a half mile, that's a little bit, we're a little outside of that range. So we were conservative to pick one that's outside of that half mile range. We're looking at 0.67 parked cars overnight per bedroom. And with the 100 bedrooms, we're looking at 67 parked cars. So that works out to be a nice ratio. We're meeting that 85th percentile peak parking demand for a 90 unit total of 100 bedroom mid-rise apartment in an area like this. So we feel that with the shared parking, the number of parking spaces that we are providing, the location where this is, we're pretty confident that we're not going to have the amount of cars that you would normally see. And don't forget, I think it's what, 75, 80 of them are one bedroom apartments. So when people say families, we're not talking about me and my wife, each with a car, and my son who's living with us, 3 cars. It's not like the single family homes in somewhere else around the neighborhood. These are different types of users of residential apartments. What else? And like I said, the light rail is about 15, 16-minute walk from here. So on a nice day, some people might take that. And if not, there's, like I said, the number 1 bus can take you either to Exchange Place or back to Newark. And the number 80 bus also can take you down West Side to get to the light rail there. So between the shared parking cars and the mass transit availability, we feel that the 68 equivalent parking spaces is going to be adequate for these 90 units, equivalent of 100 bedrooms.
Any questions for Mr. Klein?
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Klein. There was some discussion about peak hours and taking a half an hour or more to get from, say, Kennedy Boulevard down to 440. How do you feel about that? What's your study say about that?
Sure. Back in 2012 and 2013, I was actually the traffic engineer for the city of Jersey City. I worked over on 440 when the DPW was over there. So, and I did quite a few studies around the city. I remember when the Pulaski Skyway was closed up, we put some traffic counters out on Communipaw because we knew that traffic was going to shift. And really that's what happens. If you look at 440, when there's trouble on 440 northbound, people tend to shift over. Mallory gets a little busier, West Side Avenue gets a little bit busier. Communipaw, when traffic is jammed up at the 440, 1 and 9 intersection, then things tend to back up. And it's not every day, but it's enough that it's annoying and people are not happy with the way it operates. There are plans for the future to make 440 a boulevard, an urban boulevard, I believe they're calling it. And they're going to make improvements to the interchange of 440, Communipaw 1 and 9 to make traffic flow a little bit better there as well. So traffic's going to get better in the future. But what I also want to say about the driveway operation itself is we are narrowing the driveways. We're having less curb cuts along the frontage of the site. We're putting that drop-off pickup on the street side so that people coming eastbound on Communipaw can pull in out of traffic, not like people do today, where sometimes I remember driving down Communipaw and seeing some auto body shop changing a tire out in the street and they just take up the right lane. So we're getting that drop-off pickup traffic out of the travel way. We're making our driveway narrower than the driveways that are there today. And also the traffic on Communipaw, when it is flowing normally, the signals at West Side and at Mallory tend to create gaps in the traffic flow. So there's ease of people to be able to make the left turns out as well as left turns into the site with those gaps that are created.
Mr. Klein, it's kind of my experience that a big part of the problem is Mallory and Communipaw Avenue, and then trying to make a left turn going west on Mallory, right at the McDonald's. Make a left turn going west.
To go down Mallory?
People fill up the intersection and just backs it up to so I think somebody said MLK. I'm not sure if I've seen that, but I know that it can happen to, say, the boulevard.
Right.
At least.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, this site is going to generate in the morning, 16 cars are going to come out in the morning peak hour. So that's a car every 4 or 5 minutes that are going to be coming out of this site. As those cars come out, some are going to make a left to go towards, let's say, Newark. Some may be making a right, drop off a friend, head south on West Side. So the traffic's going to disperse. So when we look at the number of trips coming in and out of the site, it's really insignificant compared to the amount of traffic that's already there. Plus, the gym itself generated about that same amount of traffic in the morning. Evening, the gym generated closer to 40 trips in an hour, about 22 in, 16 out. We're going to generate about 12 coming in. So people that are making the right turn in, slow down, the right lane, make the right turn in. People that want to make the left, as other people do at the Checkers and all the other places along here, when they want to make that left turn, people have to get around them while they're waiting for that gap to be able to make the left turn in. So traffic is not going to be interrupted like I think the neighbors think it's going to be, with the amount of trips that are going to be coming in and out of the site. And these are pretty conservative numbers because, again, we're thinking that more and more people are going to be taking advantage of walking different places, taking mass transit to get where they got to go in the morning and coming home that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any questions?
I have a few. I actually find that testimony from Mr. Klein pretty persuasive. I think that the traffic on Communipaw is going to remain horrible, and this isn't going to make it better or worse. But I think that the parking issues are real, and I don't think that ride sharing is going to assuage people from buying a car, primarily because I really take issue with the testimony of both Mr. Klein and Ms. Forstall about how great the public transportation is. I grew up on the West Side when the public transportation was far superior than it is now. And I moved because I couldn't hack the commute into the city. New Jersey Transit is worse than it used to be. The light rail station is not close. So I would like, from a planning perspective, just more testimony to that point. Tell me what these great buses are, because I'm not aware of them. So that's one question. The bigger issue is that you had the 10 residents of Roosevelt Avenue all testify vehemently against this project. Not one person on Roosevelt Avenue thought this was great. And I thought I think it was Mary Elizabeth Jagru, the rendering that she put together was what I had been trying to put together in my head when I first saw this application. I was on Google Maps trying to imagine what it would look like if I had a backyard there. And I also find it questionable when you talk about all of the great community interaction and all the sacrifices you made to the plan, but it's still 100% lot coverage. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy what a big block this building is. And I don't know where the heck you think you're getting positive criteria from. You haven't done any comparisons about where there are other high density, apartment buildings close by. And I understand that, yes, Communipaw Avenue, it's gross, it needs work, it needs rezoning, but I do not want to rezone Communipaw Avenue by granting variances to questionable buildings. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I know this was a rant, so, if you want to address anything I say, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But right now, I just think that this is a terrible and insulting application.
Well, if I could just address, the 100% lot coverage. The purpose of that is to provide for the garage, and then under this commercial automotive zone, you're only required to have, or you can have a 5-foot setback, and in a 30-foot building at the rear. So you'd have a 90% coverage you can have as well. So you'd be looking at a 30-foot wall in the back, where this I think is a better option than that, because I think we're like 23 feet off the rear yard, and it's like 12 feet at the very rear. So it serves as a wall or a fence between the two properties.
But people weren't looking at a 30-foot wall. They were looking at a car lot. And they were getting some sunlight. I also understand the shadow study, but there are, in spring mornings, people aren't going to have sunlight in their backyard when they're having a cup of coffee. So that is a quality of life issue.
I just have a comment. I know I passed around there today just to make sure that I wanted to get a whole view of exactly what the building and the area looks like. I'm not crazy about the parking lot, but I'm also concerned about the height of this building. I mean, 6 feet, 6 stories is a lot, and it will obscure any kind of view to the people, to the residents in the back of this building. I'm almost thinking, is there any way that Mr. Lewis can sort of configure this building to make it more suitable so that the residents, so that building can be part of the neighborhood and not be so, such a big obstruction in anybody's view, and make it part of the community as opposed to being not part of the community. Mr. Lewis?
I guess I would say that when we designed this building, we were considering light and air and not the view of the people of Communal Avenue. And again, we did do that step back so that we were only having a 12-foot high building at their property line and stepping back. Again, we increased that step back. It was originally only 15 feet above. We actually increased it another 8 feet to make it a little further away. And again, removing all the noise from the roof deck, we thought helped. We tried. We have been trying to work with the community. We've adjourned twice to meet with them and came back each time with more changes. So we are trying, is what I would say. We have been trying.
I know, the height of the building, it's just I'd submit you're blocking just views to the north to the sky. And you're not, it's not going to block anything more, whether it's a 3-story or above. I mean, it's still, you still got a building behind you. And this is it's the same height as the building that was approved a month ago by the board. It's literally the same height, 6 stories, 67 feet.
I don't know. I like I said, it's very difficult because you can almost feel how the tenants feel, these homeowners, the way they are really reacting to this whole project. And I sympathize, because I think if I was in their shoes, I would feel the same way. I mean, we're really obstruction. That building is just a big obstruction. And it's a beautiful building, by the way. I have no problem with it, because I'd rather see the building on Communipaw than that big lot, to tell you the truth. I'm just wondering how, you guys can do something to make that building more compatible with the neighborhood, so that the residents, so that those homeowners can maybe welcome that building as opposed to be so opposed to it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Rich?
Yeah, I have a question, please.
Sure.
I don't know if it be Mr. Lewis or Caroline, but we see that you're going to be going solar panels on the roof. What was the decision to make that solar panel and not more of like a green roof, or and plus also somebody brought up, and it was a good question because I was thinking about it right from the get-go, the water retention system. There's no plan on having a water retention on the building, because that is a true factor with Communal Avenue, the runoffs and everything like that. So whoever would like to address that, I appreciate it.
Sure. If I could address that, I would love to address that. Let me do the stormwater first, because I actually did have that written down. We are providing a stormwater system, detention system in the site. Every roof leader leads to a pipe in our garage that's buried underneath the ground. It's a 120-foot long pipe that's 30-inch diameter. So it holds a lot of stormwater. I don't have the gallons in front of me, I'm sorry. But that pipe holds the water, and it leads to a control chamber, which is basically a chamber that has a small outlet hole that will release it at a slow rate to the sewer system. So it holds it and then releases it very slowly over the next couple of days, so it doesn't overload the system while the storm is continuing. So we do have a stormwater detention system here. And the first question regarding solar panels. Originally, we did have a common roof deck that was about 1,400 square feet, and it was surrounded by a green roof on all sides. And when we removed the roof deck, we decided that we were going to we still wanted to have some sort of amenity, so we added the solar panels and we covered as much of the roof as we could with those panels.
Okay,
So that's why go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, then you said most of the roof. Will there be any roof space available for any type of greenery or, you know?
The top roof is pretty full with the condensers and the solar panels. I would say that the back roof, the area on top of the garage, we would be happy to add. We originally had some green roof and a roof deck there as well. We'd be happy to cover that with green roof trays, I think, which would be a nice amount of space. And again, because our building is to the south, we get lots of light there.
Okay, one other thing, the water retention, is that compatible to what was approved by 847? Is that the similar tankage or the water situation, or are you aware of that?
I can't remember the system that we used there. I apologize. This is a pretty common system that we've used in many projects in the past in Jersey City, though.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions at this time? We also could go to staff, and you could, I think staff will probably address some of the potential questions, and then also you could think about questions during that time as well. Okay.
Okay, all
Well,
right.
Lucas or Cameron. No, Cameron, you are staff, so.
Hey, all right. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so firstly, as usual, I'm going to ask that the applicant agree to the conditions stated in the staff report dated January 26th, 2021. Mr. Harrington, does your applicant agree to those conditions?
Chuck, you're on mute.
Chuck, you're muted.
Oh, you just missed my most profound statements.
Yeah.
So yes, we would agree to those conditions, but what I'm hearing from the comments from the board during our little discussion there is I'd request that we carry this so that we can take a look at some of the some of the comments that were raised here and see if there is something that that can address those. If that's I don't know if Cameron wants to go through his comments, staff comments now, but I think.
Well, I think that's very wise, because certainly the height is something that, although the shadows, of course, will not be cast upon the adjacent property owners to the south, it's still an issue of air and space that can't fully be addressed with the current design of the building. But just to answer questions from the public that we didn't cover yet. So firstly, there was one about the IZO. The IZO was passed in the fall of 2020. It only applies to applications that were submitted in the year 2021. So that answers that question. So the affordability rate of the moderate income is performed by the director of the Affordable Housing Association department in Jersey City. So they calculate that. Okay, and actually we answered a few the other ones while we had our conversation here. So all right, I'm not going to talk anymore.
I did, Cameron, have a couple questions for you, because there was at least one person from the public that talked about what we should be considering for positive and negative criteria, and I imagine that was some of what staff looked at. So are you able to weigh in on and understand, if we change the building slightly, that'll change, but I certainly want the public to kind of hear what staff considers, what the types of things are that we're told to focus on, so that we can understand, what we should be weighing, and so the public understands we do weigh those things.
Of course. So as it was also hinted upon here and there throughout the testimony of everyone, urban planning practices 101 for best practices are mixed use, and having a single use facility on an area with heavy traffic and foot traffic, we had members of the public stating how there, didn't feel safe. There were no lights. It was vacant. It was empty. The auto body shops parking in the middle of the sidewalks, pedestrian unfriendly area. So having a mixed use development, having eyes on the street, light, foot traffic, it's improving the quality of life by keeping eyes on the street, reducing crime. It's just about as old as, urban planning itself. Green infrastructure, we have the water retention system for flooding, the solar panels, the Energy Star appliances, the shared automobile usage, items like that. Access to park, you're going to get a lot more utilization of park and open space. There's the city bike stations over there, alternate modes of transportation. The affordable housing element, even though it doesn't apply to this building because it was originally submitted to the planning department in the summer of 2020. The IZO, again, was passed in the fall of 2020. So diversifying the housing stock of Jersey City, these are all items that are on the list for positive criteria. This would be an ADA development, and there are many people who need wheelchair accessible, and a lot of the older one and two family homes in the neighborhood cannot accommodate ADA residents of Jersey City. So, I mean, does that help?
But Cameron, if the area is zoned to not be conducive to things like eyes on the street, it's zoned for automobile sales, automobile mechanics, commercial, and fast food restaurants. So it's not exactly zoned to be eyes on the street. So of course, anything different that you put in, anything is going to be positive from that point of view. So
Certainly.
I don't think that just putting in something non-conforming kind of gets you into the positive criteria land. If it's zoned so incorrectly in the first place, if that's what you really want. So maybe you could speak about what the expectations are for the master plan. Are we going to have big blocks running all up and down Communipaw Avenue?
Yeah, and that's actually what's so interesting about tonight's meeting is how we opened it with the Zoning Board of Adjustments annual report. So this is obviously a corridor that is being researched by the third-party consultant firm that's doing the re-examination of our master plan. And it is going to have some type of mixed use component to it. So I know it's the ultimate irony that we started with our annual report, suggesting that we need a re-examination.
Well, what does that mean? I mean, it probably should look more like Newark Ave in downtown Jersey City at some point in time than like 1 and 9 between Jersey City, Tunnelly Circle and North Bergen. And maybe this corridor was designed at a point where it was looking more like 1 and 9, and probably 10 years from now, it's not going to look close to that. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's something that would be more comparable to an R5, an NC.
So, and a neighborhood commercial, that means that would be like the corridor on Newark Ave or Central Ave, right?
Yes.
And what is R5?
R5 is the Hamilton Park Village area. So if you look at Newark Ave across from White Eagle Hall, you'll see 6-story ground floor commercial parking. That's R5.
So R5 means predominantly residential, but higher density residential, right?
Correct.
At 100% lot coverage?
Let's look. I mean, my guess is no.
No,
But-
it's not 100% block coverage in the R5. Lindsay here, sorry.
Nice. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
It's probably 90% lot coverage.
I think it's about 80 because there's a requirement they do like 20% of the lot is either landscaped or has permeable pavers. That's a new zone
Oh,
that was
that's
written
right.
a few. Yeah, because most of it lies in the flood zone, so that
Yeah,
was written for that.
You forget that the Morse Canal way it would cut through downtown like that. A lot of those areas wetland. So yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Cameron? I mean, it sounds like we're at a point where we're carrying this application. It sounds like we probably don't know a date yet, unless you guys want to be calendared on April 8th.
All right, can we carry it to April 22nd? I think April 8th is honestly too aggressive. With next week being a holiday week, Easter and Passover. So I think the 22nd probably makes more sense for us to regroup internally and see what we may want to do and may not want to do. And this would carry, I would ask that the next application obviously would be carried with it.
That makes sense, yes.
Okay. Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who would actually be able to answer this or if it's an appropriate question, but as we increase the density, how is that balanced with, say, schools? How do we get to that tipping point that there's enough capacity?
I think, I don't know who from staff wants to answer this. I don't know if Mallory, you're still on, but this is definitely part of the study for kind of overall analyzing, the master plan and direction for development.
Correct. And we do work with the Board of Education, and we actually have been working with them more aggressively in the past year or two on some other rezoning efforts that we have elsewhere in the city that will have larger implications on densities. And so we're working with them, and they have actually a consultant currently who is a facilities planner. And what that really means is that they take a look at how many units are being approved throughout the city and try to then take those numbers and extrapolate a multiplier that they use to project what future student capacities will be. And then the next layer of that becomes to take, that projected student count and understand how does that work from a districting standpoint in terms of what schools in what neighborhoods or what neighborhoods are seeing disproportionate growth and therefore could create an issue of kids being sent to different districts from where they live. And do we need to look at, building more actual buildings for schools, or do we need to look at increasing just capacities of existing buildings? And there's a myriad of strategies, that can come from those numbers. But we've been working with them, and we're getting close to actually getting a much better understanding of what that multiplier looks like in Jersey City, based on, say, the past 5 to 8 years of more rapid growth than we saw traditionally as a city. So it is something that we incorporate, and it's something that I think will be happening more accurately and more regularly in the future, especially with recent funding changes at the state level for the school system.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Well, I guess we're done with this application until we'll hear from you guys in a month.
Yes. Thank you.
So thank
Really,
you.
I have a question. So if we're carrying this case and the next one to the 22nd, so for this case, are we picking up where we left off or starting over on the 22nd?
I think that depends on what
Yeah.
Mr. Harrington's gonna come back with.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if Cameron's report is for a project that is now different, I don't know that it makes sense to. Unfortunately, if there's going to be a change, probably everything has to change.
Which leads to the next question that I have, Mr. Harrington. Since that young lady from the community asked you to have meet with them and, try to tweak your project, does that mean between now and the 22nd, you're going to meet with the community again?
Well, yeah, I would expect that, yeah, we'll make changes. We'd send them out to them, either have another Zoom meeting or send them out. And like I said, it's been very, easy to coordinate meetings through Councilwoman Prinzary. So.
Okay, great.
Would.
And everybody who was here from Roosevelt Avenue knows how to connect with the councilwoman and is present, has been at those meetings.
Yes, there is a email string that they have with the councilwoman in my office and me specifically.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, thank you. So I guess I have a question, and maybe this is, we talk about this among ourselves. We're really close to a point here where we kind of set a cutoff for the meeting. And maybe Mr. Nadell is going to tell me that he's going to wrap up his presentation if we go to the next application in like 15 minutes, but I don't know what you guys want to do.
If I could just interrupt you, I'm actually the architect for the next presentation. It's pretty quick.
Okay.
My presentation will take 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
I'm happy to go forward if other people are.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, Josh.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Josh, this will be the last. So this will be the last one. We'll hear this one and
Yes.
then.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to case Z20-063, which is 90 Webster Avenue, and that'll be the last case for the day. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, guys. I'd love to go through every case every day in 2 hours.
I hear you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, then, since I have both the other cases that are left, 13 and 14, I know Mr. Conlon's name is on it, but if I could just request that they be carried then to April 8th with preservation of notices.
And is that okay?
Yeah, Lindsay, how's that calendar look?
Looking busy.
Sorry, what?
April 8th.
We're gonna carry what's listed as number 13, number 14 today to April 8th.
Right. I mean, so we're 2 or 3 other things at the beginning of the meeting. So at this rate, tonight's agenda will be next time's agenda. We'll have to carry so on and so forth.
We just need to be meeting every week.
Yeah, seems like it. So any attorneys listening in, you can get scheduled probably like 2024. Just
all right.
kidding, sort of. Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think you said this, but let's go just to make it clear. So case Z20-071 and case Z20-072 are going to be carried to April 22nd, you said?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to proceed with case Z20-063.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Ben Nadell from the firm Connell Foley. The applicant this evening is 377 Ogden Avenue, JC LLC. The property is 90 Webster Avenue. It's block 4505, lot 16. It is in the R1 zone. It's presently improved with a 2-story 2-unit multifamily building with a ground floor, 1-car garage and driveway. The applicant is seeking to renovate the existing dwelling into a 3-family dwelling, along with removing the 1-car garage on the ground floor. The applicant is seeking a use variance to permit the multifamily use in the R1, along with bulk relief for front and rear yard setback. This is a notice application. I would just ask for the board attorney to mark the notice into the record, please.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Danzel. Yes, I was doing something else. Yes, we've reviewed your notices, your affidavit, your proof of publication, and Bridget will mark that as A1 for this application.
Okay, one moment. This will be A1. Okay.
And Mr. Nadell, you'll agree to have your witnesses sworn in remotely, correct?
Yes, we have 2 witnesses this evening, Jeffrey Lewis, our architect, and Samuel Ellamy, our professional planner. We did receive a planning review letter that's dated today, March 21st, 2021. I'll just let the commissioners know the applicant will agree to comply with the conditions that are in that letter. So with that, I would like to call Jeffrey Lewis, our architect.
Great.
And I remain under oath, Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
And we
Okay.
did Mr. Lewis's qualifications in the prior application.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll get right into it because it is getting late. Right now, I'm showing on your screen from my title sheet a photo of our existing building. It's the site, it's the property in the middle of the drawing here. And I just want to summarize some of the nonconformities and undesirable conditions that we're going to address with this application. One is the nonconforming 1-car garage. One is the parking in the front yard of the building. Another is this exterior stair that goes up to the 2nd floor. It's not nonconforming, but I know planning isn't really a fan of these. Additionally, you can see that there's no green space on this in the outside of this building at all. And then lastly, on top of the non-conforming lot and the parking in front of the house, there's also a large oversized curb cut. And it's a real problem here because as you can see, the house next to us is pretty much the same as ours. There's actually 4 houses on our side of the street and 4 houses across the street that all have the same look, that all have the same large curb cut. So it's basically, 100 feet where nobody can park on the street at all. So it's not a great plan. And then so zooming out, we are going to put an addition on the front of the building in a more traditional look to match the building on the corner next to us on the corner of Webster and Franklin Avenue. And to do this, we are asking for 3 variances. One is for use, where we're adding a new ADA adaptable work-live unit to the ground floor to make this a 3-unit building. The front yard setback, where again, we're matching that corner building at 69 Franklin Street. So we'll have the 0 front yard setback. And then the front plus rear, where in the rear we have 22.5 feet. So we're okay for just the rear yard. But again, the front plus rear, we would need 35 feet and we don't have that. Okay, so quickly, our site plan. What we can show is that we have a new 3-story building in the front here that's hatched, and we're stepping it back a little bit to provide for a 65 square foot planted area in front of our building. We're also providing a new street tree. We're providing new curbs. We're eliminating the existing curb cut for a full curb. We're providing new sidewalks. And then as far as the back of the building, we're not making any changes existing. There is a walkway along the side of the building that provides access to the ground floor unit. And then in the backyard, there's some condensers and there's a grassy area with 2 trees, 2 pretty old trees, and a really nice old kind of cobblestone paver area that we're going to keep. Moving on all the way to the floor plans. Let's skip through these. Apologize for not deleting them. Okay, so we're showing the existing plan on the left. So you can see the large non-conforming garage in the front. We are enclosing that first floor and adding first on the left side of the building, a common lobby that has the staircase up to the 2nd and 3rd floor apartments, as well as a trash room, and then access to the work-live space. This is a 300 square foot space. It has access from the front and then also directly into the 1st floor unit. We also put the ADA bathroom for that unit right next to that door so that anyone that is coming to the work-live studio, if they have to, would have access to that bathroom as well. As I mentioned, there's a second door into the unit from the side yard. It enters into this open living dining kitchen area. There are 2 bedrooms in the back as well as a second master bath. And we're replacing the existing windows with French doors that could open out into the patio. Again, this is an ADA adaptable unit. We're providing a washer dryer. We're also providing hot heat and air conditioning in the unit. Looking at the existing second floor, again, you can see this was existing a 4-bedroom, 2-bath unit. We're making the unit larger, but we're reducing it to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit. It will be 1,280 square feet total. And we're increasing the space in the living dining kitchen area. The bedrooms are getting bigger. The bathrooms are getting bigger. We're making more closet space. We're also adding a new utility room with a washer dryer. And then lastly, we're also adding Juliet balconies on the back and on the front of the building. And looking at the third floor, it's basically the same idea. It's a little larger, 1,330 square feet, and that's just because there's less there, taking away space from our footprint. The side here is a little reorganized, but still same number of bathrooms, utility room, same number of bedrooms, basically the same amenities as the floor below. And then looking on the right, we have the existing hip roof, which we're leaving, and then just adding a flat area with a green roof on top. And I'll just mention, this was a request of the community group, and crazy as this sounds, I actually met in person with the community group on, I looked it up, it was March 10th of last year. Sounds crazy to do something like that right now, but hopefully, God willing, it won't be crazy soon. But that was their main comment. They wanted more green space, so we did add the green space on the roof. Here are the existing elevations on the bottom, and then the new elevations on the front. I'll zoom in a little bit on the ones in the front, or the new ones, I'm sorry. And so I want to just walk through the materials here. We're going for a more traditional look as opposed to what we had originally, to kind of go more with the existing building on the corner of Franklin Street. So we're providing a smooth red brick finish, lots of large windows with transoms, and also French doors with transoms. All of these will have black frames, black aluminum frames. The railings, both the first floor railing and the Juliet balcony railings are all black aluminum. There's a PVC cornice that will be painted black. Then looking at the rear, again, the same window finishes, the same balcony finishes. The only difference is the siding will be a gray vinyl siding. And then lastly, on the side elevations, we're basically leaving all the window and door openings the same. We're replacing the siding with new vinyl siding. You can see the addition on the front, replacing the existing front stair. And then again, the same on the other side. We're removing the stair and replacing it with new vinyl siding. And so just to summarize real quickly, I don't want to be rude or insulting, but I do think this building is more aesthetically pleasing than the building as previously shown in the neighboring buildings. We are providing a new ADA adaptable work-live unit. We're eliminating a non-conforming garage. We're eliminating the front yard parking. We're eliminating a curb cut to provide for more street parking. We're internalizing that front stair and internalizing the trash from the street, which is currently stored underneath the stair. And then we're providing a new street tree in the 65 square foot planting area. Thank you for your time, and let's move on to Sam and keep this moving.
Thank you, Jeff. This time I'd like to call Samuel Bellamy, our professional planner.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you state and spell your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Samuel, Samuel, Bellamy, Bellamy.
Thank you.
And my license is still active and in good standing.
And we accept Mr. Bellamy's qualifications. Thank you.
So for the record, Sam Bellamy, a planner with the firm Dresner Robin. Mr. Lewis did a good job covering the variances that we are asking for tonight for the three unit building. So I will get right into the justifications. In terms of the use variance, I do believe this property is particularly well suited for the proposed three unit building with the work live unit on the ground floor. We are located at the north end of the block, so we aren't mid-block. We are actually adjacent to a multifamily building that fronts onto Franklin Street. We did take a look at the surrounding densities. There are a number of multifamily buildings ranging 3 to 6 units on the block. So what we're proposing is 52 units per acre density. And that's consistent with the average density of the block and with those other multifamily buildings. Getting into some of the, we are also asking for the variance for the front yard setback. So we are proposing that addition that will have a 0-foot front yard setback. That will actually match that 0-foot setback of the side of the building that fronts onto Franklin Street. From there, we are proposing to set back the building 6 feet as you get into the residential going south into the block. So it will act as a transition as you get into those buildings that have greater setbacks. The predominant setback is 8.5 feet on the block, but there are a number of 0-foot front yard setbacks. So I do believe that that is consistent. We are also asking for the combined rear and front yard setback variance. We're proposing a combined total of 22.5 feet. As Mr. Lewis mentioned, we aren't decreasing the rear yard setback at all, so we're maintaining that. We are also maintaining the side yard setbacks, one of which is an existing nonconformity along that north side lot line. That is adjacent to the rear yard of that multifamily building that has a fire escape that runs up to the property line. So there won't be any impact to light, air, and open space in terms of maintaining that existing nonconformity. Also with the building height, we are maintaining the same building height, maintaining the floor to ceiling heights of the existing building, carrying that forward. Also, I do think that the 3-unit is consistent and will promote a population density consistent with purpose E of the municipal land use law. And also the facade improvements, the streetscape improvements will promote a desirable visual environment, and that's consistent with purpose I. So with that, I don't think there's any substantial detriment to the general welfare. As Mr. Lewis stated, we are removing the curb cut, removing the front yard parking, and removing an undersized garage. I think that's all consistent with the trend and moving forward with good planning practices, adding a street tree and adding a front yard, on-street parking space. Likewise, there's no substantial detriment to the general, to the zone planner zoning ordinance. This is an appropriate infill development consistent with the purpose of the R1 district. And it's also consistent with the master plan by providing for a range of housing units, 3-unit bedrooms, and also live work unit, which isn't common on all projects. So I think that's an added benefit of this project. So with that, I think that concludes my testimony, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other testimony?
So that concludes our direct testimony this evening.
Thank you. Before we go to board questions, I was just going to see, Lindsay, did anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this application?
I don't see any hands. I see a hand. Okay, 1 second.
Okay.
Are we opening for a public comment now?
Mhm.
Okay, so 1 hand raised. I see Ken. Ken, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
And Ahmed, can you still take time? Thank you.
And is muted.
Yes. Ken, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Ken Cummings. Address is 148 Washington Place, Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Cummings, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are, and that you will consider your testimony as if it was under oath tonight?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm. I just want to say that I've been a developer in Jersey City since 1998. And I've, in the past, I guess, 6 years, I've done several buildings in the Bergen Lafayette area. Very familiar with the church and the general site and the general neighborhood. I've renovated 3 buildings on Astor Place. And I just want to say that I think anybody who's willing to do this project, especially these guys, knowing their work, I know their work from White Eagle Hall, the church on First Street, though is it St. Anthony's? I don't know the name of that church, but I'm well aware of the project. I've seen their work, and and I think this team will do the right thing with this church, and it will enhance the neighborhood beyond measure. So I just want to say that I'm for this project. It needs to happen, and this church needs to be saved.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was.
Lindsay, anyone else?
Yes. Dennis, I am unmuting you. Please state and spell your full name and provide your address for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Dennis Doran. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I live at 91 Summit Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Doran, do you verify that you are who you just stated you are and that you will consider your testimony as if it is your oath tonight?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Doran. It's Doran. I've lived at 91 Summit Avenue since 1978, so that's 43 years. I own the property immediately to the south of St. John's Church, 114 Summit and also 108 Summit, a few doors further down, and 8 other buildings on that stretch of Summit Avenue.
Excuse me, Dennis.
We're talking about the wrong property.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I hate to even bring this up, but we're talking about a property on Webster Avenue, and
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, Dennis. I love the work you do in terms of preservation, so it's fine. But Mr. Cummings did the same thing, and just wanted to clear that up on the record.
When is the St. John's property coming up?
April 8th.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. So for those that we're only discussing the application concerning 90 Webster Avenue.
Does that do it for the public, Lindsay?
Yes, I don't see any other hands raised.
Great.
Okay. Then we're going to close the public part of this application.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Does anyone want to hear from staff first?
Let's hear from staff, please.
Okay. Is Erica here, or is someone else doing the testimony?
Erica is not here. So, but she did prepare a staff report. Just give me one moment. So she did prepare a staff report for 90 Webster dated March 25th, 2021. She outlines the site and project description and outlines the proofs necessary for a D variance, the positive and the negative criteria. Staff is satisfied with the testimony that was provided by the applicant's professional planner. There are a number of recommended conditions. There's the standard conditions. So we would recommend approval with those conditions.
Mr. Nadell, are those acceptable?
Yes, we will comply with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions at this point?
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Like to make a motion on case Z20-063 for approval with staff conditions.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Arujo,
Yes.
Commissioner Netchert,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner McCormick,
Yes.
Commissioner Shadid,
Yes.
Vice Chair Donnelly.
Yes, they had me with the tree.
And Chairman Jacobs.
Yes.
All right, motion carries all in favor with staff conditions.
All right. Good luck, guys. Thanks.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank
Have
you,
a
everyone.
good day.
Thank you. Good luck with
Good
the
night.
Project.
Okay.
Can I just ask a quick question? What case is that they were talking about with the church?
They were
That's the
talking
next
about
one.
130 Summit
Oh,
Avenue.
that's the church.
Yeah, that'll be,
130 Summit. Okay, that was being carried. All right, thank you.
yeah, we'll pick up where we left off for the April 8th agenda. So that'll
I think
be
we have
towards the
5
top.
cases already for that day, so it's like
Yeah. So do we have,
Yeah, we have
we should
four,
memorialize?
yeah, four of them.
Let's do it.
The first, which came up earlier this evening, is case Z20-095. That's Devi Ma Communipore LLC. That was preliminary and final major site plan approval with D and C variances. That was for 847-849 Communipore. That application was approved, 6 in favor, none opposed. On February 25th, there was acting chairman McCormick and vice chair Shadid, commissioners Netchett, Arroyo, Green, and Batka. And as I said, that passed 6 in favor, none opposed. All in favor of memorializing that.
Aye.
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 And the next case also occurred in February 25th. The same commissioners present. This case also passed 6 in favor, none opposed. And the applicant was, the application was Z20-015. The address was 155 Laidlaw. And that was an application for a C variance that was approved, 6 in favor, none opposed. All in favor of approving that?
Aye.
Aye.
And the next two cases were heard on March 4th. The first is Z20-017. That was a major site plan with D and C variances. The applicant's name was Nicola Flora, 67 Clifton Place. Present that evening were Chairman Jacobs, Vice Chair Donnelly, Commissioners Shadid, Green, Mitchell, Patel, and Brown. That passed 7 in favor, none opposed. All in favor of memorializing that.
Aye.
Aye.
And the last one occurred on the last application was heard on March 4th. Same 7 commissioners. That also passed 7 in favor, none opposed. The applicant was the 6th Borough Development LLC. It was case number Z20-078. The address was 84 Ferry Street, and that was a D variance approval. And as I said, that all in favor approve that. So all in favor of memorializing that?
Aye.
Aye.
And that concludes resolutions.
Can I ask a question? I wasn't at the February 25th meeting. What was the public, like for that first meeting, that first application?
Nothing like, nothing.
Nothing like this.
No, I don't think there was maybe 3, I don't know if I had to guess, it's probably 3 to 5 people.
And they all were in favor.
Yeah, nothing like tonight.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah, Rich, they all said yes, they liked it. They all said they liked it, yeah.
You know, it's very strange because you had all these people from Roosevelt Avenue all of a sudden, and that lines up with the same thing with Roosevelt Avenue, and none of them complained.
Did they know about it? I mean, it's very strange.
Just
Well, the
really
notices
quick,
were out. Yeah.
we are still on the record and all that. I don't know if you wanted to discuss an executive session or not. Just wanted to remind you all that we're still live and all that.
Ah,
I think that would be advisable to
all
get
right.
on the
Move
record.
into
Yeah,
executive
apologies.
session.
No, that's all. I think we sometimes just
Right.
forget.
We're off the record. All right.
All right, so we're
Is
gonna
that
go into
are we
exec-
closing?
Motion.
Well, we're gonna close or we're going into
Okay.
executive session.
Sure. I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Oh, you beat me to it. Uh-oh.
All right.
I always wanted to do that.
I'm
Aye.
gonna vote
All in
no.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
No.
All right. If you did want to do executive session,
We're
I
off.
just,
We just closed the meeting,
We've
so.
closed the
okay,
meeting,
I don't
so
know what the difference is.
now we're just chit chatting.
Well, there's still people here. I have to remove them all one by one.
Okay. No, I just had a question because I thought
This-
that was interesting.
Still some public here.
Hold on.
Mhm.
I have to click every single one.
For our stats, we passed 100% of our applications today.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I mean, if it makes
No,
anyone
50%.
feel, just to that comment earlier about, the higher approval rating, I think that's been a comment at least the past 2 years that I was here, projects like this still make it to the board where
Excuse
there's
me,
still
Lindsay,
like,
we're still recording, we're still live.
No,
Yeah.
we're off the record.
oh, let me stop recording.